Welcome to Fanfiction Audiobook. If you enjoy the content, like and subscribing will be greatly appreciated. If you have any recommendation for novels, comment down below. Marvel, Double Through the Fairy Tale World. Chapter 81. A great battle, under the shock of legendary power, turned into a joke. However, since it was a fight in the ring, there had to be a winner after all. Storm and Torrent, who were in a rather embarrassed state, finally barely finished the fight. The final result was self-evident. Storm, who had several people who had reached the ultimate level 3 combat power, was still stronger than Torrent. The battle was over, and those who should leave naturally left, and those who wanted to continue fighting also began to walk towards the ring. At this time, Natasha left. Before leaving, she bought a copy of the latest ranking album of The Ring. The Ring was not opposed to selling these so-called materials, and even deliberately used them to promote the power of the top-ranked superhumans. The second-level ranking and the third-level ranking were all available. Natasha's eyes naturally fell on the ranking of the third-level ring. 10th Torrent, Level 3 Advanced. 9th Card King, Level 3 Advanced. 7th Storm, Level 3 Top. Natasha kept looking up, passing by the names one by one, and finally fixed her sight on the top 3. These 3 people stood at the top of countless superhumans, and some of them were said to have combat power that almost exceeded that of level 3 superhumans. In fact, Storm also had the hope of making it into the top 3, which many people knew, but she didn't care. 3rd White Queen, Level 3 Exception. Unlike the other guys who only had rankings, the top 3 even had a relatively detailed introduction, and they didn't bother to hide their strength. White Queen, formerly the White Queen of the Hellfire Club, one of the strongest psychic mutants, she was said to have a powerful psychic ability that was only inferior to Professor X. 2nd Hulk, Level 3 Exception. Hulk, mysterious origin, suspected to be a product of military experiments. He has defeated the army several times, and has a powerful strength and physique that is almost impossible to peek into. 1st Armored Titan. Armored Titan, a black market powerhouse with a mysterious origin, he has not appeared many times, but he has defeated all enemies with overwhelming advantages every time, and his upper limit of strength cannot be judged. Natasha pursed her lips. She had seen the 10th Riptide and the 7th Storm. Although the 7th Storm was most likely not at full strength, even so, the terrible destructive power was still unforgettable. With a wave of the hand, a terrible tornado can be created. This kind of existence is absolutely a natural disaster for humans. In the hands of Storm and Riptide, it can be manipulated at will like a toy. Natasha has no doubt that just the strength shown by these 2 is enough to kill an entire army. However, facing the top 3, it seems that there is a big difference. Using the exception as a mark, it is clear that the strength of these 3 has already surpassed the 3rd level. Especially the one ranked first, Natasha can't predict how strong the other party is. This one is very mysterious and rarely makes a move. In fact, the top 10 rarely make a move. After all, there are only 10 people. After one competition, they can roughly understand the gap between each other. If they maintain their ranking, they will get rewards. There is no big difference between a few higher and lower places, so there is no need to fight hard. You can imagine how strong the number 1 recognized by everyone is. For Natasha, it doesn't matter whether they are 100 times stronger or 1,000 times stronger than her. After all, they are not the existence she can fight against. What really caught Natasha's attention was the gossip marked at the back, which was suspected to be a master-disciple relationship with the nuclear explosion god of war. The nuclear explosion god of war is one of the legendary existences exposed on the black market now. In name, he is as famous as Magneto and X-Grant, who are also legendary, but in fact, he is recognized as the strongest legend by many superhumans. After all, the record of this only shot is enough to shock everyone to tremble all over. With pure flesh, he resisted the nuclear bomb. Not only did he not die, but he was not even seriously injured. The strongest physique, the strongest creature, the strongest monster, countless nicknames were given by superhumans. In the end, to show respect, everyone respectfully called him the nuclear explosion god of war. A powerful existence like a god. Natasha remained silent for a long time. Even the ultimate weapons of mankind could not harm the monster. No one knew how many such creatures were hidden in the entire black market. Suddenly, Natasha's face changed and her eyes became alert. At some point, her surroundings became extremely quiet. She looked around vigilantly and saw a group of tall, 2-meter-tall strong men who isolated the entire area. Seeing these strong men, especially Natasha with the logo on their chests, her beautiful eyes suddenly shrank. Natasha was not unfamiliar with their logo, which was a wolf. The people wearing this logo were the Black Market Guards, also known as the Black Market Wolf Guards. It is said that any one of these wolf guards has a force beyond that of ordinary superhumans, especially the captain, the man called Scar-Eye. It is said that Scar-Eye, although not in the top 10, has a fighting power that is not inferior to the top 10 in the ring. Natasha instantly became extremely alert. Although she didn't do anything out of line due to caution, this was Hell's Kitchen after all, the so-called otherworldly world of superhumans. She was just an ordinary person who was a little bit special. Who knew what would happen if she was discovered? The most important thing was that her identity was an agent. Once this was discovered, Natasha felt cold all over at the thought. It didn't matter if she died, but it was a pity that all the information she had found would be useless. Okay, you scared this lady. A familiar voice came from not far away. Natasha looked over in the direction of the voice and was stunned for a moment. Mr. Caliban. Everyone in the middle layer of Hell's Kitchen knows about this Caliban. Caliban said elegantly like a gentleman, my lady, our boss wants to see you. Natasha's heart was instantly filled with shock. Caliban, the representative of the middle class of Hell's Kitchen, was almost omnipotent in the entire middle class of Hell's Kitchen. Being called the boss by such a person, he was obviously a real big shot in Hell's Kitchen. Why would such a person meet her? After hesitating for only a few seconds, Natasha nodded. She had to nod. Even if Caliban didn't say anything, the wolves on both sides were always paying attention to her with their sharp wolf-like eyes. Let alone running, she couldn't even find a reason because she didn't dare. She was not afraid of death, but she didn't want to be torn to pieces by the wolf guards for no reason because of her dishonesty. That would be too worthless to die. Under the leadership of Caliban, they quickly passed through layers of buildings, and soon they came to the top floor of a tall building. Caliban's whole body instantly drooped down, walked forward and knocked on the door gently. Boss, the people have been brought here. Let her in. This person is very young. This was the first thought that came to Natasha's mind. Judging a person's basic information based on his voice is a very basic agent method. With a creak, the door handle was turned, but Caliban did not go in directly. Instead, he walked to the side and stood like a loyal doorman. He gestured to Natasha and asked Natasha to go in by herself. Natasha took a deep breath and gently pushed the door open. This is a very large room, filled with all kinds of precious antiques, ornaments, etc., and even some strange items. However, Natasha did not pay attention to those. At the first time, her eyes fell on the only man at the scene. As expected, a very young man, and very handsome, much more handsome than those movie stars, but what is more important is not the other party's face, but the other person's temperament, or more accurately, attitude. Natasha had met the president before, and she had even served as the president's bodyguard. None of the presidents were very handsome, but they had one thing in common, and that was attitude, the kind of attitude that regarded the entire country as their own territory, and was calm and indifferent at all times, as if nothing would happen that would be beyond their expectations. And the surprisingly young man in front of her had a similar attitude that even surpassed the presidents Natasha had met. It was a more indifferent and calm attitude, and even gave Natasha a feeling that even if the earth exploded, the other person would not have much emotional change. Looking at the man in front of her, inexplicably, a word emerged in her mind: divinity. The legendary gods, descending to the earth, I think, would have this kind of attitude. Natasha Romanoff. The moment this name was revealed, Natasha's expression changed instantly. Natasha is an agent, and she naturally won't use her own name when she's out in the field. She has had many backup lives, but, even in SHIELD, no more than 10 people know her real name. Now, someone just said it in the first sentence. How could Natasha not be shocked? How did he know that, and how much more did he know? How much did he know about SHIELD? Very shocked and confused, right? To read the exciting novels, go to Falu Novel Network. Natasha was silent for a moment. Yes, Kai. Do you know that the more wealth and power a person has, the fewer things he can't do? Natasha immediately understood. The man in front of her was a high-ranking official in Hell's Kitchen. He was able to suppress and even command those monster-like superhuman beings. He was countless times more noble and powerful than any chaebol or congressman. Finding out the name of an agent was definitely not a difficult task. There should be very few things that this man in front of her couldn't do. Of course, I didn't use those means. Natasha couldn't help but look at the man in front of her with a hint of doubt. I know you, just because I have seen you. That's nothing. Natasha is not an invisible person, and many people have seen her. However, the other party's next sentence made Natasha's face change instantly. Your future self. Chapter 82. Have you seen your future self? What kind of method is this? Prediction? Divination? Deduction? I don't understand. I don't understand what kind of means it is, nor do I understand why the other party said that. A person's life is like a line. It is not difficult to watch the whole life as a movie through some means. Fuck, that's not easy at all. Rock tapped the armrest lightly. Destiny, cause and effect, time, etc., the ability to peek into the future is not uncommon. Naturally, there are masters in the black market who are proficient in this. Natasha felt nothing in her heart, and even wanted to laugh. It's not that she doubted Rock's statement, but she found SHIELD and the black-blooded director funny. People can predict fate and spy on time. In this situation, what's the point of any action taken by SHIELD, trying every means to spy on Hell's Kitchen and study ways to deal with Hell's Kitchen? Now Natasha understood. No wonder she felt that it was not difficult to get into Hell's Kitchen. People didn't care at all. Under absolute force, all the fancy things were just clowns. Maybe the black market executives would just treat it as fun. Looking at Natasha's constantly changing expression, it goes without saying that Natasha's mood must be very complicated at this moment. Rock didn't give the other party more time to think or stabilize his emotions, and spoke again. You are not a complete person, nor a perfect person. As a bloody agent, you are not even a good person. But it is precisely because of this that the shining points in you are very dazzling. Facing death, some people go crazy, some people become decadent and drink themselves into a big belly, only you keep hope, encourage everyone, and face death resolutely. Thank you for your compliment. It seems that I will be good in the future. Not bad? Maybe. Noticing something strange in Rock's eyes, Natasha wondered, is there something wrong? Otherwise, why would this person have such a strange expression? Rock did not answer the question directly, but suddenly said, do you want to know why something happened to you? Natasha's expression kept changing. In the future, if there is a chance to understand their own future, most people would want to know about it, not to mention Natasha's own future. It seems that many things will happen, which will not attract the attention of this person. In this case, Natasha naturally wants to know more about the future. However, peeking into the future, this kind of thing, people are always afraid of the unknown. Natasha is Natasha after all, the best Black Widow in the Red Room and the best agent of SHIELD. I want to. Rock's mouth curled up with a playful arc, and the void pulled, and a materialized golden light emerged. Countless images began to emerge from it, and finally, they were confined into pictures. Natasha went deep into it, staring at the picture in front of her without blinking. Rock did not show Natasha all the future, but only captured some pictures in his memory after Avengers 3. Infinity Gems, Cosmic Overlords, one epic battle after another, and finally the Avengers were defeated, and the Cosmic Overlord snapped his fingers, instantly annihilating half of the creatures in the universe. The terrifying expressiveness made Natasha lose her mind for a long time, and it was so powerful that it made people desperate. Then, it was the final battle. 5 years later, time went back, returned to the past, and found the infinite gems in the past time period, snapped his fingers again, resurrected everyone, and killed Thanos. After a long time, Natasha's excited mood gradually calmed down. It looks good. Although Tony Stark and I, the Playboy, died, the others are still alive. We won. It's a very good result. Won? Maybe. Rock didn't say that there is a Thanos in every universe, nor did he say that Thanos is favored by death. Theoretically he will not die, and there is a high probability that he will be resurrected in the future. Natasha frowned. After watching the future scene, she felt that everyone in it had done their best. They even killed an extremely powerful universe overlord. Why did this one always give her a feeling of watching a joke? It's like what they did is ridiculous. Do you know economics? Rock suddenly spoke. Natasha was slightly startled, and then nodded. You may not be very proficient in capitalist countries, but you must have some understanding of economics. The fundamental problem of economics is the allocation of resources. Natasha fell into deep thought. She seemed to understand what the other party wanted to say. 5 years have passed. The resources have been redistributed. At this time, you have unconditionally resurrected everyone. Have you ever thought about what the result will be? Natasha's eyes widened instantly. There are 6 billion people in the world. Generally, only 3 billion people are left after death. 3 billion people have used 5 years to redistribute resources. At this time, 3 billion people suddenly appeared. On the personal level, the dead enemies are resurrected, hatred is reactivated, new families are formed, ex-wives and ex-husbands are resurrected, new ethical issues are formed, and so on. On the power level, the original boss died, the new boss took over, and now he is resurrected again. Will he be willing to let his position be taken away? On the national level, the country suddenly has twice the population, resources, wealth, stability, etc. Natasha's face became more and more ugly. Contradictions, all kinds of contradictions, contradictions in all aspects. Moreover, these are contradictions that cannot be easily resolved. Under the contradictions at all levels, confrontation, fighting, and confrontation are inevitable. Rebellion, even developing into war, is not impossible. Natasha suddenly covered her head helplessly. What have we done? In the end, the 6 billion people who have recovered will most likely not die less than 3 billion, but who will be held responsible for the people who died in the various conflicts and riots. They didn't have to die, but they died because of a group of people who were originally dead and suddenly resurrected. Guilt, an extremely strong sense of guilt. At this time, Rock spoke again. Everyone will only feel happy about the resurrection of their loved ones, but you have to know that among the people a person faces in his life, relatives only occupy a small part. This sentence further deepened Natasha's sense of guilt. She was almost drowned by this strong and suffocating sense of guilt. Do you know the normal way to do it? Natasha raised her head instantly and stared at Rock, like a dying person who saw the last straw to save his life. 3 ways to do it. The first is to not care about the death of others, just be responsible for the people around you. The new world cannot accommodate 3 billion people, but 30, 300, or even 3,000 people will not be a big problem. After just thinking about this approach, Natasha shook her head. She couldn't do it. Let 3 billion people die. She obviously has the ability to resurrect only the people around her. This approach is not wrong, but it is too selfish and does not match the three views of superheroes. To read the violent novels, go to Philo Novel Network. Rock didn't care and continued. The second option is that 5 years is too long. Just revive them before the redistribution of resources is completed, and do it as quickly as possible. Natasha's eyes lit up. This method is not bad. Rock looked at Natasha with a playful look, but, do you have that level of leadership? Natasha was silent for a moment. She had watched the future scenes and was very clear about her existence. For the so-called Avengers, she was just a vase-like role and did not have much say. Leading the entire Avengers and letting those powerful guys with different personalities, such as Tony Stark, the arrogant playboy, act according to his own command. The possibility of success is very low. Even if Natasha knows that she is right, it will be difficult because she does not have that level of leadership and voice. Natasha gritted her teeth. I will try my best. Effort. Rock smiled. If hard work could really change everything, there would be no word unfairness in the world. Natasha was silent for only a few seconds, then said, "You have one last method that you didn't tell me." The last method is relatively simple. It only requires you to kill one person. Who? Is it the master of the universe? I don't have that kind of power. No, it's not him, it's someone else, someone you are very familiar with. Natasha suddenly felt uneasy. I had a premonition, and watched the other party utter a name that was totally inappropriate. Nick Fury. Why him? Natasha asked in confusion, suppressing the turmoil in her heart. Rock waved his hand again, and the images of gems appeared in the air. Infinity gems, one of the most precious treasures in the universe, were created at the beginning of the universe. Each of them possesses infinite power. In the picture, the cosmic overlord uses the infinity gems to kill half of the creatures in the universe with a snap of his fingers. You should be familiar with them. Natasha nodded. She must be familiar with them. I think anyone who has watched Avengers 3 and 4 will be impressed by the infinity gems. There is an old saying in the East that treasures belong to those with virtue. Let's not discuss what virtue means. For treasures of this level, the entire universe, countless powerful creatures, races, powerful alien empires across galaxies, gods, and even celestial beings as big as planets, are all interested in the Infinity Stones. You should be aware of my classification of Hell's Kitchen: Level 1 Ordinary Creatures, Level 2 Apprentices, Level 3 Professionals, Level 4 Legends, and among them, there are Level 5, Level 6, and even Level 7 creatures. They all have ideas about the Infinity Stones, and they are greedy and eager to get the Infinity Stones. At this time, a Level 1 creature reached out to the Infinity Stones, and his purpose was to control the power of the Infinity Stones, so that he would have the power to fight against Level 3 and Level 4. Natasha was speechless for a long time after hearing this. Because of ignorance and lack of reverence, your SHIELD director will sooner or later push everything to a predetermined fate. He is the source of all evil, a fool without reverence. The whole room fell into a brief silence, and the atmosphere was somewhat depressing. 1 second, 2 seconds. Time began to slowly pass. Finally, after an unknown amount of time, Natasha raised her head and looked directly at Rock with a firm gaze. I want to know why you are telling me this. Rock said calmly, in this world, the one who truly maintains the balance is never the so-called shield. Kamartaj maintains the balance of the dimension, and Hell's Kitchen maintains the balance of the world. SHIELD has not played a positive role. On the contrary, as an organization spanning various countries, SHIELD does not have the ability to maintain balance, but instead has the opportunity to touch taboos. There are many taboos on Earth. There are some that even I and other high-ranking officials in Hell's Kitchen are unwilling to touch casually. However, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. can sense them, and then, out of vigilance, for justice and other ridiculous reasons, he touches those taboos wantonly. Killing an egghead is not difficult for me. It is not much more difficult than crushing an ant. However, no one is sure whether the new director of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the same fool without fear. I can't keep killing or kill all the S.H.I.E.L.D. So, I need S.H.I.E.L.D. to change a director who is not so stupid. Most importantly, the new director needs to have a. The next moment, Rock's eyes fell on Natasha. The meaning behind it was already very clear. At this moment, Natasha's mood was complicated, she was proud of being recognized, and she was entangled in killing Nick Fury. If Rock had made his purpose clear at the beginning, Natasha would definitely refuse on the spot, but after seeing the future, Natasha's thoughts were naturally different. As for whether Rock would lie to her, was it necessary? In the 3 days in Hell's Kitchen, although she could not clearly know the full strength of Hell's Kitchen, just the tip of the iceberg she could see was enough to shock her. A mere shield, the other party only needed one sentence to directly press her to death like pressing an ant. In this case, would the other party have to spend so much money to deliberately lie to her, an ordinary person? What's the point? Nick Fury, is it possible not to die? After pondering for a long time, Natasha said. You know his personality better than I do. Natasha sighed in her heart. How could they, the elite agents, not know the personality of that late-stage paranoid idiot? After a moment, Natasha took a deep breath. I will kill him. As for whether I can become the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm not sure, but I will try my best. You can choose a few helpers. Natasha's mind instantly popped up a few names. I see. Chapter 83. Natasha walked away, swaying her waist and hips. Even though she was full of worries, she walked in a charming way. What a beauty! You didn't just leave her here. Felicia came out of the secret room and said playfully. Rock hooked his hand and held the attractive cat in his arms. She is indeed very attractive, and you are not much worse. Really? Come to think of it, you chose her to be the new director of S.H.I.E.L.D., wasn't it just because of her hot body? I don't deny that this is one of the reasons. Instead of choosing an unpleasant one, why not choose one that is charming and makes me feel comfortable? Of course, this is just one of the reasons. The most important thing is that I want to see a good show. Good show. This time Rock didn't answer, but looked at the direction where Natasha left with a playful look. S.H.I.E.L.D. was about to be turned into S.H.I.E.L.D. Not to mention that, when you think of S.H.I.E.L.D., you will recall the plot about S.H.I.E.L.D. in the original book. Think about it carefully, the Insight Project, the Cosmic Cube Experiment, the Monolith Experiment, etc. This group of idiots have no positive use except for making trouble, just like a group of NPCs who issue tasks to superheroes. Among them, the leader, Black Salted Egg, is the absolute core and leader. This guy has no positive use except to drag back. A person who has no idea, no late stage of persecution delusion, plus late stage of megalomania, an ordinary person who intends to control everything. It's hard for people to have a good impression of such a guy. Rock can certainly kill this annoying black-boiled egg, even if black-boiled egg has a pager in his hand. Before pressing the pager, Rock can kill him 1,000 times. However, compared to killing him, Rock wants to watch the show more. Black-boiled egg is of too low a grade, not even a superhuman. To attack that guy would lower Rock's status and dirty his hands. Let Natasha defect, and let Black-boiled egg's most trusted elite agent kill Black-boiled egg personally. Isn't this more interesting than killing Black-boiled egg with one finger? As for whether Natasha can kill Black-boiled egg, this is not a problem. Black-boiled egg's trump card is just those Scorus. Natasha herself has the ability to kill those Scorus, not to mention that Rock also let her take away a few small things. Next, just watch the show. Bang bang bang. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Rock waved his hand, and the door opened without wind. Wanda, the little maid, was standing at the door, holding a large stack of materials in her arms. Oh, there are quite a lot of things. Felicia, find a chance to issue an order and let those researchers who have nothing to do all day create an artificial intelligence. The black cat in Rock's arms nodded. This is not a big problem. It can be done with just one sentence. Looking at Rock flipping through the information cognitively, the black cat was a little curious. What are you looking for? Rock shook his head and nodded again. He wanted to see which plot had already started. This kind of thing can't be said directly. Suddenly, Rock's eyes fell on a piece of information. Hey, you are looking for Spider-Man, why didn't you tell me earlier? I know that. Rock looked puzzled. I didn't expect it to have already started. What started? Rock shook his head and didn't explain. To be honest, this world is a bit chaotic, and there are traces of various Marvel branches. X-Men, Avengers, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, etc. The development of other plots is nothing, but Spider-Man is one of the most important superheroes. Spider-Man's plot has begun, so it seems that various major events should come one after another. Next, just wait for the Playboy to be kidnapped, and a series of plots will erupt in a very short time. The overall strength of Hell's Kitchen should be mentioned again. To read exciting novels, go to Novel Network. The current Hell's Kitchen is still not good enough to deal with major events. It can't be that Rock takes action every time. What is the use of this force? Hell's Kitchen is here to serve Rock, not Rock serving Hell's Kitchen. Rock picked up another piece of information casually, which was exactly the ranking of the arena. For the second level arena, Rock just glanced at it and found that there was no one with potential that made Rock's eyes light up. The third level arena was good. After a few glances, Rock's sight was fixed on the top 3 of the third level arena. There is no need to say much about the armored giant ranked first. This thing was originally promoted by Rock's order. It is impossible that Hell's Kitchen, a black market and arbitration agency, cannot even take the first place. Where are the second Hulk and the third White Queen now? They don't seem to be in Hell's Kitchen. As for where they are, I need to send someone to check. Then go check it out. Black Cat Felicia nodded and glanced at the rankings again. These two are indeed the best in the third level field. Excellent. They are not that simple. The White Queen is easier to say. During this period, she is the second strongest mind master. Her strength is extremely close to the 4th level legend. If it were not for the fact that the upper limit of mutants' ability growth is greatly restricted, she would have broken through long ago. The other Hulk is not a 3rd level. The real Hulk is definitely a real 4th level, but he is still very strong among the 4th level. This is just the norm. Once the form is promoted, it is not impossible to be a sub-father, a father, or even above the father. It is not surprising that it is shown in the ranking of these 3 levels. It is the Hulk who is powerful, not Bruce Banner. The smart man who claims to have 7 doctoral degrees has severely limited the real strength of the Hulk. With just a little help, the White Queen and the Hulk will immediately transform into 2 4th-level combat forces. Even, they may directly surpass the legendary Shame Magneto. After all, which legend can't kill Magneto? Darling, what else do you want? He lowered his head and looked at Felicia, the black cat, whose face was flushed and almost dripping with water. Rock shook his head and smiled. Indeed, now was not the time to think about those messy things. He picked up Felicia, who was almost as soft as a cat, and turned to walk towards the secret room. Wanda, who had been quietly guarding beside him, also had a flushed face at this time. Obviously, her little head had begun to wander, and the more she thought, the redder her face became. What are you still standing there for? Come in. Oh, Wanda took 2 steps subconsciously, and her eyes widened. Wait, wait! Is it time for her to go in now? After hesitating for only 2 seconds, Wanda walked in with a flushed face. Chapter 84. Damn it, you can't do that. Go back quickly, take me back to Hell's Kitchen. A middle-aged man with the vicissitudes of life, his face suddenly turned into a huge green face. Fuck, get back here! With an angry roar, the green face was pressed back and returned to the appearance of a middle-aged man. No, you can't do that to me. Although he had changed back, the middle-aged man's ears were still ringing with deafening roars of unwillingness. The middle-aged man patted his head. Damn it, I shouldn't have gone to that place. His name is Bruce Banner, and he also has a more special name, the Hulk. That's right, he is one of the most powerful and famous superheroes in the Marvel Universe. It's just that this superhero is not doing very well now. It's not because he was chased by General Ross of the military, but because of Hulk, the real Hulk. The Hulk was created because Bruce Banner suffered a large-scale radiation mutation from the radiation of the gamma bomb. Bruce Banner was also greatly affected by this and his life became a mess. Not long ago, he was invited to visit Hell's Kitchen. To be honest, he was quite happy on that trip. He met many superhumans, which stimulated his desire to study and made him no longer feel like a monster. However, unexpectedly, success was also due to this, and the problem was also due to this reason. 3 Because originally, the Hulk would only appear when Bruce Banner was furious and take control of the body. However, since entering Hell's Kitchen, there was actually no problem at the beginning, until Bruce Banner suddenly had an idea and went to watch the ring battle in Hell's Kitchen. Now, the Hulk in Bruce Banner's body exploded directly. The Hulk was born out of anger and was destined to be an angry god of war. Anger is instinctive and bellicosity is nature. Guys with this kind of characteristics can control themselves when they see something fun like the ring. There is no need for anger at all. The Hulk instantly took control of the body and went to the ring to have a good fight. Unlike the previous battle with General Ross, fighting a group of little ants was no fun for the Hulk. Now it's different. They are all super. Humans are all level 3 beings, each one is more durable than the other. The Hulk had a blast beating the Hulk. After having a good time, he naturally doesn't want to go back. The Hulk just had a blast. The Hulk had a blast, but Bruce Wayne was not. It's okay to give you his body occasionally for fun, but you still want to turn over and become the master. You don't want to give back the control? How can this be tolerated? The two of them directly fought for the control of the body. Although the Hulk was powerful, this body belonged to Bruce Wayne after all. Bruce Wayne had a higher degree of control. After successfully suppressing the Hulk, Bruce Wayne decisively chose to flee from Hell's Kitchen. In fact, he didn't have a bad impression of Hell's Kitchen. There were superhumans everywhere, the safety factor was full, and there was no shortage of researchers. Everyone could study things together. It was a pity that he just didn't hate it. The Hulk likes it like crazy, even to the point of obsession, so why stay? Finally, he managed to escape from Hell's Kitchen. From that time on, the Hulk in his body never stopped for a moment, and wanted to take back control of his body all the time, and go back to Hell's Kitchen to have a good fight. Hulk really likes Hell's Kitchen too much. The two of them escaped and robbed all the way. Now Bruce Banner is really painful and tired. He has been mutated for a long time, but the sufferings he has suffered in these years are not as hard as these few days. He even dared not sleep, for fear that he would wake up and return to Hell's Kitchen again. If he really goes back, it will be difficult for Bruce Banner to suppress the crazy Hulk. Moreover, Bruce Banner even suspects that if Hulk is really forced into a corner, Hulk may complain to Hell's Kitchen. Hulk in the past would definitely not do such a thing, but who made Hell's Kitchen a black market in the other world? It is nominally a black market, but in fact, as time goes by, more and more superhumans have regarded Hell's Kitchen as an arbitration agency for superhumans. If ordinary people judge superhumans, they will not accept the crime. But if it is Hell's Kitchen, they will accept it because Hell's Kitchen is strong enough. And the rules are fair to a certain extent, so it is recognized by more and more superhumans. Bruce Banner rubbed his swollen and painful head. His face was a little gloomy. I can't go on like this, it's getting harder and harder to suppress the Hulk. If I continue like this, I'm afraid I can't suppress it anymore. That's right, for Bruce Banner, the Hulk is a disease, he has always believed so, but it was at least controllable before, and he could barely tolerate it, but now it is getting harder and harder to accept. I need to find a way to completely suppress Hulk. Or, just completely wipe out the Hulk. For Bruce Banner, the Hulk is not a life, but a disease that makes him suffer, so he does not have much psychological pressure to wipe out the Hulk. Too bad I can't go back to Hell's Kitchen. Hell's Kitchen will not allow itself to erase the superhuman power of the Hulk. I need to find a doctor first. He needs to have a complete laboratory at least. No matter how smart Bruce Banner is, he can't kill Hulk without any tools. This is neither scientific nor theological. Suddenly, a name came to Bruce Banner's mind. Dr. Lan. Dr. Lan is a doctor that Bruce Banner met through the internet not long ago. The other party has rich scientific literacy and background, which should be enough to help him achieve his goal. However, he cannot go directly to him. First, Bruce Banner does not know whether Dr. Lan is credible. Second, Bruce Banner does not know whether he has been invited by Hell's Kitchen. Bruce Banner has been in Hell's Kitchen for a period of time. He knows very well that in addition to inviting various superhumans, Hell's Kitchen will also invite two kinds of ordinary people. One is big capitalists or politicians, and the other is researchers. If Drive Lan really gets an invitation from Hell's Kitchen, with his scientific literacy, it is easy to understand his purpose. At that time, he might report it directly to Hell's Kitchen. After all, Hell's Kitchen is a world of superhumans. Although it also respects researchers, by comparison, the audience of pure superhumans is larger. In addition, Hulk once played second in that ring. Hulk even wanted to continue to challenge for the first place, but was stopped by Bruce Banner. You can tell with your toes that even if it is only second, the importance to Hell's Kitchen is definitely greater than that of an ordinary researcher, even if he has 7 doctoral degrees. Take your time, I can still suppress Hulk in a short time. Thinking of this, Bruce Banner pressed the hat on his head to cover his face, and hid in the crowd. At the same time, not far from where Bruce Banner was before, in a coffee shop, there were 2 cups of coffee on a table where a person was sitting alone. One of the cups was picked up and he took a sip. The person opposite was sitting at the table. It didn't look like there were 2 people at all, but more like a quirk of one person ordering 2 cups of coffee. Rock looked at Bruce Banner, who was gradually moving away, and his expression didn't change much. He let the other person gradually move away from his sight. "Aren't you going to catch him?" There was no one on the other side, but suddenly a voice rang out. "For you guys in Hell's Kitchen, a top-level 3rd-level combat force should be pretty good, right? He is not a level 3 fighter. Once he is freed from the limitations of his weak body, he will be able to become a level 4 fighter, which is also a mid-level fighter. There is actually such a strong one." The voice on the other side showed a slight fluctuation, but it was only a slight. "The same goes for you. Your potential is not limited to what you have now. To read the exciting novels, go to Philo Novel Network. So, this is why you are looking for me." Rock nodded, then shook his head. The voice on the other side sounded again, a little empty and lost. "I understand, you are looking for the White Queen, not me. You are not worse than the White Queen, but I didn't expect that you would be the 3rd. The atmosphere fell into a short silence. After a moment, the voice sounded again. "I don't want to, but I don't know. You don't know what identity you should use. You think you have no identity or even no self? How would you know? The voice on the other side was obviously shocked. Rock smiled slightly. In this world, I don't know a lot of things. That's right, you are a great legend after all. When he said the last few words, his voice showed obvious longing and admiration. I have a question for you. Rock asked. Please tell me. White Queen, what happened? You can imitate the White Queen's tricks and make Jiliu and others unable to tell them apart. You must know each other. It's not wrong to say that I know her. I met the White Queen in the laboratory. She is a great spiritual master. She knows everything about me and taught me for a while. Rock nodded. How is she now? The voice on the other side fell silent, and after a moment, he said, I don't know her current state. The last time I met her, her mental strength was obviously unstable. She told me that she might not be able to hold on for too long. I wanted to save her, but I couldn't. I was too weak at that time and could only leave my body for a short time. Rock shook his head with regret. It seemed that the White Queen was in danger. That's right. Although the White Queen is alive and well in the comics, in the film and television, the White Queen is probably dead. There are metaphors in many places. 3.3 For example, the three Cuckoo sisters all have clones. It's conceivable what the White Queen will end up like. In addition, in a certain scene, there was a suspicious corpse, the body of the White Queen. It's a pity that such a beautiful and potential spiritual master died like this. Of course, it's a pity, but it's not that disappointing. It's not that Rock, a spiritual master, doesn't care, but that even if he dies, he can be resurrected. The power of time, or hell, there are many ways. When Rock is strong enough, he can bring the White Queen back. I'm sorry to disappoint you. Rock shook his head. It's not your fault. Besides, without the White Queen, you are no worse than her. Join Hell's Kitchen. You can become stronger and find the meaning of your existence in Hell's Kitchen. Can I? Certainly. Okay, I agree. Very good. Before that, how about giving you a title? Title. I think you probably don't like your own name. The voice fell silent. A title that belongs to you alone and no one can deny it. Good. There was a hint of excitement in the voice. From now on, you will be called Master of Illusion. Chapter 85. Many superhumans in the Marvel world have a miserable life, being discriminated against, captured, and sent to the experimental table. And Master Illusion, among all the miserable people, can be added as the most miserable. Because, this guy was sent to the experimental table by his own father when he was still a child. It is conceivable what kind of impact such an experience has on Master Illusion. If it were an adult, he might have turned evil directly in the face of such a thing, but Master Illusion was different. Perhaps he was too young when he was pushed to the experimental subject, or it might be the kindness in his nature. This guy did not turn evil, but just had a mental breakdown, doubted himself, and doubted everything. And because his ability is so powerful that he can even leave his body, he doesn't care about his own life or death, and nothing in the world is important. He is like a wandering soul, floating around at will, paying attention to everything in the world. Until he saw Hell's Kitchen, he had some curiosity for the first time, so he attached himself to a person, and he curiously observed the entire Hell's Kitchen. The arena in Hell's Kitchen is also very interesting. Out of curiosity, he borrowed someone else's body and, under the name of the White Queen, fought to the third place in the ring. No one doubted the whole process. Because this guy's ability is also an extremely powerful branch in the psychic system, the control of the five senses. It was not until Rock became interested in the top 3 and deliberately investigated that he discovered this problem. Rock is a magician and a warrior, that is, 01 is not proficient in psychic abilities, but his mental strength is so high that it even exceeds that of X granted in some cases. Boss, can I call you that from now on? Listening to the extremely obedient voice of the Master of Illusion, Rock nodded. Of course. The Master of Illusion can be said to be the easiest top combat force to regain in the entire Marvel world. In some cases, there is no other. This guy just lacks a sense of identity, and even questions the meaning of his own existence. After all, his father destroyed the meaning of his existence with his own hands, and treated him as a prop, a weapon, but not his son. Boss, do you want me to follow that guy? He can't detect my presence. Rock knew who the Illusion Master was talking about, and it was Bruce Banner. No, this is his destiny. Buy one get one free deal, isn't it interesting? The Illusion Master didn't quite understand, but he didn't ask any more questions. This guy is really a well-behaved and honest person, and he is also easy to use. If this guy turns evil directly, it will be a disaster for the entire superhuman world. A psychic mutant, controlling the five senses, this guy has the potential to destroy everything. Just look at that Eisen and you will know how terrible this ability is. Rock just glanced at the direction where Bruce Banner left again and stopped paying attention. Let Bruce Banner toss it out, and toss out the hatred. Rock can just take it away in one wave. Green, the strength of the giant must be a level 4 legend, and the combat power will continue to increase with anger, and reaching the extreme level 4 is not a problem. As for the level above 4, it is more difficult. Hulk's normal combat power still has an upper limit, otherwise he would not be doubted by Thanos's military boxing. Once Hulk starts to change his form, that is the beginning of the complete explosion of Hulk's infinite potential. Four-handed Hulk, Green Emperor, Warlord Hulk, Destroyer God Hulk. Abomination is a little worse, but the bottom line is also a level 3 extraordinary combat power, which may be able to fight head-on with a level 4. It is not impossible to produce another level 4 legend with good training. Let's go. Go? Where are you going? Boss. Get your body back first. Floating like a ghost, you are not a complete you. Light appeared, and Rock's entire body exploded, turning into countless light particles that soared into the sky and disappeared without a trace in an instant. The military, in a well-guarded core laboratory. William Stryker is old, but has a wolf-like gaze, cold, ruthless, and hateful. This is a guy who is definitely not mentally normal. Because his son awakened mutant abilities and accidentally killed his wife, he directly hated the entire mutant community and vowed to kill all mutants. He is a madman, and a terrible madman. He has no emotions at all, but he has extraordinary wisdom. Countless powerful mutants have become experimental equipment in the hands of this madman, including his own son, Jason Stryker. William Stryker, I'm curious, are you afraid of death, even though you have almost wiped out all your emotions? The sudden voice made William Stryker's eyes slightly fluctuate. He didn't even look around vigilantly like a normal person, but rushed to the operating table not far away and wanted to press a red button on it. It's meaningless. In front of me, all speed will lose its meaning. Accompanied by this voice, William Stryker's figure was actually frozen in place, only his eyes could move. His eyes turned and he glanced at the sofa not far away. Countless rays of light, materialized light particles, slowly condensed into shape, and finally gathered into a figure. A very strange guy, but it doesn't matter. This kind of method must be superhuman, most likely a mutant. Hatred, materialized hatred, burst out from William Stryker's eyes. Rock sat cross-legged on the sofa, looking at the man in front of him with interest. This William Stryker is like a monster, like a madman, but not like a normal person. Because his son accidentally awakened the mutant ability and killed his wife, he hated his son and all mutants, and spent his whole life to destroy all mutants. It's because love? How is that possible? If it was really because of love, he would definitely cherish the fruit of his love with his wife. No matter how much he hated or how angry he was, this guy would only choose to transfer his hatred. In some cases, his son was the last remnant of his wife in this world. Besides, In this capitalist country, talking about love? Of course there is love, but it is impossible to make people crazy to this extent, so Rock has always been curious about why this guy is so crazy. Not for immortality, not for power, just to destroy all mutants. This guy is not even a human supremacist. Is there a crazy extinction factor in his nature, which was completely detonated because of his wife's death, or is there something in this guy's body that affects him? A pair of eyes turned into materialized light and instantly sank into William Stryker's body. After a moment, Rock frowned. He stretched out a hand, and the whole hand turned into materialized light and instantly sank into William Stryker's chest. The next moment, he directly grabbed William Stryker's heart. Seeing the heart that didn't look good but was still beating strongly, William Stryker's eyes widened. As his body gradually weakened and he was dying, something other than indifference finally appeared in his eyes. It was fear, fear of death. At this moment, William Stryker looked like a human being. Holding William Stryker's heart in his hand, Rock said casually, "You shouldn't mind killing your father, right?" "Of course." To read exciting novels, go to FanFictionAudiobook Network. In the void, the voice of the Master of Illusion was heard again. A guy who personally sent his son to the experimental table, he is more like a monster than his son. The Master of Illusion not only didn't care, but also felt relieved. He is kind by nature, otherwise with his ability, the damage he caused would be unimaginable. He didn't want to kill his father, but hated his father deeply. This death, on the contrary, lifted all his shadows and made him feel like he was alive again. Rock didn't pay attention to the Master of Illusion, but focused on the heart of 333. "Is there something wrong with this heart?" Master Illusion asked curiously. "Yes, and the problem is not small." His fingers turned into light and cut open the heart. Strange black smoke spread out, cold, crazy, and violent. This strange black smoke was not like something in the world at all, but more like something from hell. "What on earth is this?" The Master of Illusion's voice was filled with obvious shock. Rock looked at him strangely. "It's really interesting. For her, she doesn't deal with such a guy. Half human, half demon, do they have human rights?" Rock was familiar with the power in this heart, the breath of hell. William Stryker had the genes of a hell demon. Thinking about it again, the Red Devil was clearly not a human species. An Ancient One accepted it and did not deal with him in Ancient One's cognition. Being half human and half demon is not a necessary factor to deal with. In fact, he might care more about whether that guy considers himself a human or a demon. Idealism? He shook his head, shook off these messy thoughts, and returned his gaze to his heart. If William Stryker was really so crazy because of his demonic instinct, then there would be a lot of reasons for destroying mutants. That guy might not just destroy for the sake of destruction. Recruiting soldiers for those dimensional demons or hell lords in hell. Master of Illusion, extract this guy's memory, it won't be difficult for you. Master Illusion hesitated for a moment, then did it directly. Compared to his father, the boss who gave him recognition and meaning of existence obviously had a higher status in Master Illusion's heart. After a moment, Master Illusion's shocked voice rang out. "Boss, I saw something really weird. Share your memories with me." Chapter 86. Countless light particles gathered in the void, gradually condensing into a light-like figure, looking down. As far as the line of sight can reach, there is a dam, which is also William Stryker's experimental base. It can even be said that this is his largest and most important experimental base. As for the previous one, it is an experimental base within the military, and William Stryker also serves as a colonel in the military. A finger was gently extended, and the bright light began to gather on the fingertips. In just a breath, the light gathered into a point, and it was lightly touched. Boom! The door, which was guaranteed to be at least 10,000 pounds, or even heavier, was easily exploded into countless pieces like poking paper. Rock walked in, and countless soldiers surrounded him after hearing the alarm. However, Rock just walked through the soldiers casually and calmly, without even attacking. Not long after he walked past, all the soldiers were torn apart by the ubiquitous light. After a while, Rock came to the second floor of this underwater experimental base. Blocking the door of the second floor, is a woman with sharp eyes, full of indifference and wildness. Death Girl. Upon seeing the stranger coming, Death Girl rushed up like a female leopard, at an extremely fast speed, and rushed to Rock in front of her in an instant, and grabbed Rock head-on with her sharp claws infused with adamantium. One finger, an ordinary one just stretched out, easily blocked the Death Girl's claw attack that was enough to tear a small car apart in an instant. The next moment, the finger bent, a burst of power burst out, and Death instantly flew backwards as if hit by a truck, and hit the wall heavily. Puff! A mouthful of blood spurted out of her mouth, and the originally indifferent face of the Death Woman was suddenly filled with fear and shock. The Death Woman, who almost perfectly replicated Wolverine's abilities, was not a weakling at the third level. She had seen other superhumans, especially mutants, and she had seen a lot of them. However, to defeat herself with just one finger, was this really a power that humans could possess? William Stryker is dead. From now on, you follow me. The nature of the Death Woman is similar to that of the Illusion Master. They were both sent to the experimental table by their own people. She is relatively lucky. Unlike the Illusion Master, everything is rejected. She is used as a tool and a weapon, but not as a human. The Death Woman is controlled. Apart from that, she still has certain mobility and can be regarded as a guard and a killer. But at least, she still exists as a person. The Death Woman was silent for a moment, and then lowered her head. She had been controlled before, and the finger just now not only injured her, but also broke the control over her, allowing her to regain her own thinking ability. With the ability to think for herself, facing another existence that could easily defeat her and kill William Stryker, it was not difficult for her to make the decision to surrender. The Death Woman respectfully walked behind Rock, like the coldest guard. Rock now had two guards, one was Psylocke, hot and sexy, and the other was the Death Woman, slender and cold. This configuration was perfect. Without the Death Woman's obstruction, there was nothing on the second floor of the experimental base that could stop Rock. After a while, the people came to a special room on the second floor of the base. The door of the room was torn apart by the claws of the Death Girl. When the door was opened, a young man who was obviously very young but looked old and numb came into view. At this time, noticing someone coming, the numb young man sitting on the chair slowly raised his head. When he saw Rock's face clearly, he showed an awkward but heartfelt smile on his face. This is the Master of Illusion, the real Master of Illusion, the complete Master of Illusion. This guy's spiritual talent even surpassed that of the ex-grantor. His spirit was divided into two parts, one stayed in place, and the other Professor X left here and wandered around the world like a ghost. That's why Rock said that this guy doesn't even care about death. Even if his body dies, he can continue to live through other means. As a psychic, this guy can restrain Professor X and even control him. Even if the quantity is not enough, obviously, in terms of quality, that is, the strength of mental power, this guy surpasses Professor X. Now, the two mental powers have returned to one, and he just needs to completely integrate the two mental powers. This is a new legend, a master of mind comparable to or even surpassing Professor X. Open your mouth. The Illusion Master slowly and with some difficulty opened his mouth slightly. Rock flicked his finger, and a pill instantly sank into the Illusion Master's mouth. In just a moment, the Illusion Master's almost completely useless body began to react. It will take you a long time to adapt. Use your materialized mental power that can leave the body to temporarily control and push the wheelchair. The Master of Illusion nodded with some difficulty. This body, which had been used for countless terrible experiments, was really on the verge of being scrapped. It was unknown how long it would take to completely control it. However, this was the original body of the Master of Illusion after all. Even if his mental power was strong enough to take over other people's bodies, it was meaningless. The power of mutants came from the mutant genes in their bodies. Without the assistance of the body, the upper limit of their abilities was directly locked, without exception. Rock took another step, followed by the Death Girl and the Master of Illusion, one on the left and one on the right. The three of them continued to walk down. This experimental base had far more than 2 floors. Not long after, the three of them came to the 3rd floor of the underground base. It was quiet here, and no one was around. There are even fewer. There are only a few isolated sealed laboratories left. Rock walked through them one by one, and finally came to the second to last sealed laboratory. He pointed his finger to open the door of the laboratory. In addition to various experimental equipment, there was only a crystal clear, lifelike human-shaped diamond. Even though it was already a diamond, it could be seen that this person was originally very beautiful. With such a form, it is not difficult to judge the other party's identity. The former top psychic master, with the dual abilities of psychic and diamondization, the former White Queen of Hellfire. Rock's eyes shone brightly, and he scanned the diamondized White Queen from head to toe. After a moment, he shook his head. It's a pity that it has been completely turned into diamond, including every organ and even every cell. This body is no different from a human-shaped diamond. Dead, dead as hell, no longer able to feel a trace of life or consciousness. However, after death, this diamond transformation can actually be maintained. There are many such transformations in Marvel, such as Iceman's ice transformation, Steelman's steel transformation, etc., but I have never heard of such a transformation after death. With a little curiosity, almost subconsciously, Rock pulled open the light curtain. Name, White Queen, Lost Soul. Grade, Level 3 Exceptional. Introduction, a remaining empty shell. Rock's eyebrows raised instantly. It did not show death, but an empty shell. This guy, is his spirit also leaving the body? For these top spiritual masters, this is not difficult. Professor X, the illusion master next to him, has done it, so there is no reason why the White Queen can't do it. To read the violent novel, go to Philo Novel Network. Lady of Death, you take the diamond body of the White Queen. Yes. Without any hesitation, the Death Girl took a step forward and picked up the diamond-like White Queen. Led by Rock, they walked towards the last room. This room is also a laboratory, but it is several times larger than other laboratories. In the middle of the laboratory, there is no longer a corpse or experimental material, but a gem, a scarlet red gem that seems to be pregnant with infinite power. The light curtain opened again. Name, Hell Gem. Grade, Legend. Introduction, a gem made by a certain Hell Lord himself, with all kinds of incredible uses. The power of Hell, the power emanating from the Hell Gem, can restrain abilities below the legendary level, including the legendary level. Soul absorption, the Hell Gem can absorb the pure souls floating around and send them to Hell. Madness, approaching the Hell Gem and being affected by the Hell Gem, everyone will become more and more crazy, madly advocating tyranny, murder, and destruction. Good guy, just highlight a good guy. This thing is not very strong among the legendary wonders, but this effect. It can't be said to be powerful or not. This thing is used to create a perfect tool man. No wonder William Stryker was so crazy, no wonder a mere William Stryker could suppress mutants in various ways. Level 3 mutants generally start with a strength of 10 tons, and they tend to be strong. Their strength may even reach tons. Such power, can it be restrained by some human thermal weapons? In ordinary battles, you can't bring a few missiles over. Without missiles, you can't suppress the third-level superhuman with your head. And William Stryker, a mere man, can not only suppress the superhumans, capture Professor X alive, and treat other superhumans as nothing. He can suppress them as he wants, and experiment as he wants. He even dares to rush into Xavier's school for gifted youngsters and tie up Professor X. Obviously, he relied on the power of this gem. In the original book, this thing has never bubbled, which is not surprising. After all, everything here was flooded with water when the dam broke. An interesting point is that in the original book, this dam broke, destroying Phoenix Girl and this base together. Although she was resurrected later, the resurrected Phoenix Girl turned into a black phoenix. This is certainly due to the power of the phoenix. Another reason is that it is also affected by this thing. Reasonable, really reasonable in every aspect. Now the only unreasonable thing is, why didn't Ancient One stop this thing? Because, that was intentional. Ancient One's familiar voice suddenly reached Rock's ears. Rock was not surprised and asked, intentional? Ancient One did not explain, but asked, why do you allow ordinary people to enter your Hell's Kitchen? Rock understood instantly. Hell's Kitchen allowed ordinary people to enter. On the one hand, Rock was preparing to develop some peripheral forces. On the other hand, and most importantly, it left a hope for ordinary people. Human nature is complicated. Often the more they are not allowed to contact, the more they want to contact. Li Zia Hao, leave them a hope, they will find a way according to the hope. If you don't give them any hope, it will explode completely. Just like the dynasties in the memory of the previous life, there are many reasons for the demise of the dynasty, such as land annexation, emperor's stupidity, etc., but in the final analysis, there is only one reason, no hope, but if there is a little hope, you can still work hard. If there is no hope, then there is only one way left, rebel. The same reason, if Rock really prohibits all ordinary people from entering Hell's Kitchen, those guys who desire extraordinary or hate extraordinary will definitely join forces to go crazy. Whether you are afraid or not, the trouble is obvious. Ancient One also has a similar idea, protecting the entire Earth, 99% tightly, leaving a little gap, deliberately leaving it to those dimensional demons. With a method, those dimensional demons will follow the gap to make trouble. If nothing is left, all dimensional demons will definitely unite and go crazy together. Ancient One can fight 3 or 5, but it does not mean that he can fight all dimensional demons. If we leave a chance and a hope, those dimensional demons will not join forces, but will fight each other to compete for this opportunity. This is probably why, although there is camouflage to fight against the dimensions, there are still many dimensional forces left on Earth, such as the Red Devil, Mephisto's clone, and the power of the beasts in the hand. This thing in front of me is obviously the same. As for the people who died tragically because of this thing, no matter how strong Guyi is, she is just a human being. She cannot be omniscient and omnipotent. She maintains the balance of the entire dimension and does not care about the killing between people. Chapter 87. Rock played with the Hell Gem in his hand. The crazy power on it did not have much effect on Rock. After all, with Rock's current strength, he did not have many rivals in the legend. Unless he swallowed the whole gem, the overflowing power alone would not be able to affect him. Rock suddenly raised his head slightly, and did not speak directly. Instead, he turned a mental wave into information and transmitted it to a certain place in the dark. Please do me a favor. Can. Go ahead and do it. Rock didn't even need to ask what favor he was doing, the other party agreed directly. This was the supreme sorcerer who controlled the time stone. As long as she wanted, there was nothing on the whole earth that she didn't know. Rock had an idea in mind, and he picked up the Hell Stone, an array of mental power instantly immersed in it. He was going to use this thing to explore Hell. However, Rock didn't know much about Hell, especially the Hell in the Marvel world, so he needed the help of Ancient One. It was dark and gloomy, with no sun or moon. The whole area was a nearly unchanging scarlet red. That was the color of the molten lava from Hell. The scarlet molten lava from Hell appeared in almost every corner. The pungent smell of sulfur filled the air, and at the same time, it was also filled with the smell of killing, tyranny, and blood. The whole world was depressing and deep, and completely different from the human world. When you were in such a place, you would unconsciously become violent and warlike. Further down, far away from the molten lava from hell, there was a huge blood-colored pool that was gurgling with bubbles. Around the blood-colored pool, several hell demons that were over 1 meter tall were dozing off out of boredom. Suddenly, a demon made a bored complaint. This blood pool has not been used for a long time. Why do we have to guard it here? It's too boring. It's far better to go find some demons and fight them. Fire demon, don't be so sissy. This blood pool has been quiet for a long time, but it will definitely make some noise, which will often give birth to high-level demons. Some time ago, a powerful mutant demon was born here. He controlled a powerful mental power and was directly transformed into a high-level mutant succubus. His strength is several times stronger than that of ordinary high-level demons. Even the Lord personally summoned the mutant succubus. Mutated high-level demon, I don't know when I can become a high-level demon. Dream on, dreams are full of anything. When a few demons were chatting, suddenly, gurgle, gurgle, bubbles kept coming out of the blood pool. When the demons saw this, their expressions changed immediately and their attention fell on the blood pool. The blood pool usually doesn't change. Could it be that a powerful demon is about to be born? Who knows? Let's see first. If a demon is really transformed, it's not as simple as boiling the blood pool. It will absorb a lot of hell energy. The stronger the transformed demon is, the greater the noise it will produce. Several demons watched obediently for a while. Gradually, not to mention any abnormal noise, even the bubbles gradually disappeared. The demons turned back in disappointment and no longer paid attention to the blood pool. At this time, in the blood pool, an illusory spirit was looking around with interest. It was a wisp of spirit from rock. This strange blood-colored pool is filled with a very evil power, a power that tempts people to fall. The other end of the hell gem is actually connected to such a place. It is estimated that the souls absorbed by the hell gem will be induced to fall by the blood pool as soon as they land on the ground, and, transformed into demons. It can only be said that this is really a good method. It has directly become a perfect recruitment and job transfer route. Moreover, because most of the souls absorbed are mutants, their souls are much stronger than those of ordinary people, and the transformed demons will also be stronger. It can only be said that the Hell Lord who created all this is a smart person. Rock noticed that there was a faint green energy surrounding his soul body, which prevented his spiritual body from directly falling and transforming into a demon. It is not difficult to imagine that this must be the work of Ancient One. Rock raised his head slightly. This blood pool was not very big, with a diameter of only 7 or 8 meters. The demons outside were not far away. Naturally, Rock heard everything that was said before. Mutated high-level demon, psychic, I think it must be the soul of the White Queen. Rock is somewhat clear about the classification of demons. Low-level demons are slightly stronger than ordinary humans, but with the help of guns, an ordinary person can easily kill low-level demons. To read the novels of Bao Shuang, go to Philo Novel Network. Medium-level demons are roughly equivalent to the second-level superhumans classified by Rock. High-level demons are equivalent to the third-level superhumans. Above that, there are great demons, equivalent to the fourth-level legendary superhumans. Above that, there are sub-fathers, father-level existences, but Hell generally does not use this level of terms, and is more accustomed to Hell Lords and dimensional demons. Hell Lords and dimensional demons are not a division of strength, but a title or type, occupying a certain level. A dimensional demon who rules a piece of territory can be called the Hell Lord, and one who rules a dimension of hell is called the dimensional demon. One is equivalent to a prince who has carved out a piece of territory, and the other is a god who has completely refined the dimension and become similar to the kingdom of God. Both the Hell Lord and the dimensional demon have strengths and weaknesses. A Hell Lord who has encircled a large territory in the place where the power of Hell is the most concentrated is definitely stronger than a dimensional demon who has refined the smallest dimension. However, most of the time, the dimensional demon is stronger than the Hell Lord. The dimensional demon starts at the lowest sub-godfather level. The strong lords of Hell may be able to reach the level of God, and the weak ones may be a legendary demon who dares to call himself the Hell Lord after encircling a piece of land. The Hell Lords in this area should not be too strong. Otherwise, the high-level mutant succubus transformed by the White Queen would not have attracted too much attention from the other party. Legendary, or possibly a lower-tier sub-celestial. Now, let's go find the White Queen first. After a little thought, Rock's figure slowly converged, and finally, he condensed a ray of light, quietly walked out of the blood pool, and followed a familiar spiritual wave, flying quickly in one direction. Chapter 88. A blood-red castle stood in a quiet area. Although the castle was blood-red, it was inexplicably out of place with the surrounding environment. Unlike the almost eternal roughness and brutality in Hell, this castle actually gave people an inexplicable sense of elegance. It didn't look like a demon's castle at all, but more like it belonged to an ancient noble. On the highest floor of this blood-red castle, an elegant man wearing an ancient and luxurious windbreaker, full of gentlemanly demeanor, like an ancient noble, was swaying a red drink that looked like blood. After taking a sip of the drink in the cup, the elegant man frowned. This taste is not elegant at all. Putting the drink in the cup aside casually, the man looked through the night in a certain direction. In his eyes, there surged a desire that was completely different from that of a normal demon, and, at the same time, it was very much like the greed of a demon. Almost there, almost there. As long as you get her, as long as she is the most delicious. At the same time, not too far from the Blood Castle, in a cave. A red crystal-like clothing attached to the body, straight legs tightly standing together, and above is Xiang who is far superior to the D-level strongman. Just a slight breath is enough to cause a storm. The former White Queen Emma Frost, now more appropriately called the Blood Queen. Emma frowned slightly. Even this frowning posture is full of an indescribable charm and seduction. Emma is naturally beautiful, no matter in the past or now. However, her mood is not beautiful. That blood demon seemed to be getting more and more impatient. Ever since her soul fell into hell and was forcibly transformed into a demon, she has not been in a good mood. It's not because she hates demons. There were red demons in the hellfire before. Emma's relationship with the red demons was not very good, but it was not too bad. She did not have much resistance to demons. Moreover, after transforming into a succubus, a creature that fits human aesthetics very well, her beauty not only did not diminish, but became even better. These are all good things. What Emma really hates is that blood demon. To be more precise, it is the blood demon lord, the great lord of this hell, the only ruler. As the former White Queen of Hellfire, Emma advocates strength and likes power. Logically, she should not hate submitting to a powerful Hell Lord. But the problem is that the Hell Lord is a blood demon. Blood demon, a creature that is very close to the vampire in memory. Or it is possible that vampire is a name given to blood demon by humans. What is a vampire? It is a greedy blood that likes to devour the blood of young girls. Monster. Emma could feel the greed of the blood demon for herself, but who knows what the greed of that guy is? Is he going to carry her to bed? Or eat her in one bite? Eat her literally. This is what Emma can't accept at all. The White Queen, who was once unique in the Hellfire and only second to the Black Emperor, is now a demon, and Emma wants to be the most powerful demon. Lord of Hell, why can't she do it? Being eaten alive, this is something she can't accept. She doesn't want to be eaten, but when it comes to resistance, Emma's brows can't help but frown. It's not that she hasn't resisted the blood demon, but that blood demon gives Emma a bad feeling, even more terrifying than the former Black Emperor Xiao. Black Emperor Xiao, it's just because of the special ability, the ability that is almost immortal and invincible, giving people an absolute sense of oppression. And the blood demon, without the heaven-defying ability of Black Emperor Xiao, is powerful, purely powerful. Emma even has a feeling that the hateful blood demon lord may be more powerful than Black Emperor Xiao. What should I do? Fight to the death? Or? It was impossible to accept her fate. In addition to fighting desperately, there was another way, which was to escape to the territory of another Hell Lord. But the problem was, this was Hell. How could there be good people in Hell? Who knew how perverted the next Hell Lord would be? Confused and hesitant, Emma was in a state of confusion at this moment. You seem to be in trouble, Emma Frost. Emma's beautiful eyes suddenly shrank. Ever since she turned into a demon, those demons basically called her the Blood Queen, and no demon had ever called her by her name. More importantly, Emma Frost, this name should not be known by any demon. Emma looked around vigilantly in an instant. Who? Come out! With a loud shout, the spiritual power that was even stronger than when she was a human turned into layers of almost materialized spiritual waves, wantonly impacting every corner. However, no matter how Emma stimulated her spiritual power, it was completely useless. Not only did she fail to force the hidden existence out, she also messed up the cave that was temporarily used as a residence. Originally it was just used to assist, manipulate, confuse, and control people's mental power, but now it can actually become a large-scale attack similar to energy radiation. This should be the power you gain after turning into a demon. It's quite interesting. Who are you? In Hell, no demon should know that name. It's not allowed in Hell, but it's okay outside of Hell. Along with these words, a dazzling light shone. This pure golden light that shouldn't appear in Hell was particularly dazzling and eye-catching at this moment. Countless light particles took shape in front of Emma's eyes, and finally condensed into a phantom, an illusory image. Spiritual body. Emma's beautiful eyes narrowed again. Even though she was a spiritual master, she could leave her body, but this was a nearly materialized spiritual body. The spiritual power of this mysterious person in front of her definitely surpassed hers. In fact, it might even be stronger than the former Professor X. Who are you? There shouldn't be beings that control light in Hell. Even angels who are called warriors of light will fall into the opposite fallen angels if they go to Hell. Energy like light shouldn't exist in Hell at all. Rock looked at the White Queen Emma calmly. You don't know me, and you can't know me. I destroyed that experimental base, found that Hell Gem, and then came here through the Hell Gem and found you. Emma's face changed again and again. The other party's words were quite credible. After all, she fell into Hell because of this. Why didn't you degenerate and turn into a demon? Emma's voice was louder. Rock laughed. Is this what women are like? They always care about these weird details. Zero seeking flowers. Emma stared at Rock. If you don't care, why don't you turn into a demon? Rock shrugged. It's not completely unacceptable to turn into a demon, but the earth cannot accept pure-blooded demons. Ancient One can barely tolerate half-human, half-demon, or some objects. If a pure-blooded demon dares to enter the earth, you can see whether Ancient One will beat you or not. After all, half-human, half-demon will have certain human nature, and some pure-blooded demons have what is called demonic nature. Speaking of, Rock looked Emma up and down and said, your humanity seems to be quite intact. Is it because you specialize in the psychic system? Maybe. Emma answered casually, her eyes were somewhat deep. In other words, according to what you said, I can no longer return to Earth. Rock nodded, then shook his head. With your current state, you definitely can't go back. However, as a spiritual master, your spiritual power is your real power. Your spiritual power can completely leave this body and return to your own body. Although the soul still has some demonic factors, it is not a big problem to return to the earth in that state. Emma's eyes suddenly showed a strong light of expectation. Who would want to be a demon if they can be a human? To read the violent novel, go to FanFictionAudiobook Network. The most important thing is that this is hell, damn hell, there is no perfume, no gems, no beautiful clothes, this is worse than hell for her. Emma hates this place. Take me back, as long as you take me back, I will agree to any condition you give me. As she said this, Emma smiled seductively, walked towards Rock step by step, spread her straight and slender legs, and sat directly on Rock's legs with her plump buttocks, which was full of temptation. Rock put his hand on Emma's slender and soft waist. She took the initiative, and Rock was not a vegetarian. It's not impossible for you to go back, but are you willing? The earth is also undergoing changes. With your current strength, you can still be considered a strong man in the short term, but before long, not to mention you now, even someone as powerful as Magneto or Professor X will be reduced to a soldier. At that time, do you want to experience dying again? This is not completely nonsense. There are the Dark Elf Malekith, Thanos, various demons of hell, Dormammu, the Lord of the Dark Dimension, and so on. Among them, the normal Thanos is even considered weak. If it weren't for death as a backer, Thanos would not even be qualified to be on par with other bosses. It is conceivable that without the strength of Subfather, in those great battles, he can only gradually become cannon fodder. Emma's beautiful eyes condensed and fell into silence. She naturally wanted to return to Earth, but she also knew that as a mutant, her growth limit was almost fixed at the moment of awakening, and it would be almost impossible to become stronger. On the contrary, her current form still has the potential to become stronger, far beyond her original body. However, soon, Emma came back to her senses and stared at Rock. You came here and told me all this again, all for a purpose. What do you want to do? Purpose? Rock stretched out a finger and gently lifted Emma's chin. I didn't have any purpose before, I was just curious and wanted to visit hell. Now, it has a purpose. For example, training a female Hell Lord, the Queen of Hell. Chapter 89. The Earth in the Marvel Universe is weird. Not only does it hide various secrets, it also has a strong attraction to demons from all dimensions. Rock was not interested in studying the reasons. He only needed to know that all dimensional demons in hell were hidden opponents. Since they were opponents sooner or later, there was no reason to just sit and wait to be beaten. It was also a good choice to cultivate a hell force of his own, reversely invade hell little by little, and pull the battlefield into the hell dimension. However, who to choose to support and how to support them is another problem. Emma didn't know what Rock was thinking, but she had to admit that she was a little moved. She knew that Rock must have other ideas, but that didn't matter. Now that he had completely transformed into a demon, then becoming a Lord of Hell who ruled everything was also a very good choice, wasn't it? Thinking of this, Emma's beautiful eyes fell on Rock. This sounds great, but there are two problems. First, how much support can you give me? Second, how strong are you? The first question is secondary, the second is the most important. If the mysterious man in front of him can't even beat the Blood Demon Lord, what's the point of supporting him? Everything is meaningless. In a place like hell, wisdom and planning are secondary. The most important thing is always strength. Rock did not answer Emma's question directly, but turned to look into the distance, his eyes, light golden eyes flashing, as if he could see through all the illusions. After a moment, Rock retracted his gaze. This spiritual body, carrying the power of my attack, is enough to severely injure the Blood Demon Lord. As for the support I give you, I will give you a chance to go further. If you can't take advantage of this opportunity to undermine the Blood Demon Lord, then your stupidity will disappoint me. Emma's beautiful eyes lit up instantly. Now she is already one of the most powerful high-level mutant demons in this territory. The only one she fears is the Blood Demon Lord. If she can really do these two things, she is very sure that she can replace him. Happy cooperation. Emma has always been a decisive character, otherwise she would not have decisively become the White Queen of Hellfire and go all the way to the end. If it weren't for this reason, she would have been targeted by Professor X. With her strength, even if William Stryker had some tricks, he wouldn't have been able to catch her so easily. Cooperation is a two-way street, whether it is pleasant or not. Emma's beautiful eyes were filled with a seductive luster that was almost dripping with water. Believe me, you will be satisfied. Rock just looked at her indifferently. Beauty? She is indeed attractive to Rock, but at this time, do you really think that a simple beauty can completely impress Rock? For Rock, beauties are like delicious dishes. They can be tasted and enjoyed, but they will not affect his judgment of the general situation. Not to mention, he is just a spiritual body now, using his head to taste the delicacy in front of him. Stared at by Rock's unquestionable gaze, the charming light in Emma's eyes gradually dissipated. Doesn't Emma know what Rock means? Of course she is negative. She just wants to get the greatest benefit at the lowest cost. They are not stupid, let alone a former White Queen of Hellfire. If she were so stupid, she would have been eaten to pieces. Now, what Rock wants is her attitude and answer. In just a moment, Emma gritted her teeth and made a decision. I can sign a contract with you. What level of contract? There are many contracts, such as contractual agreements, master-servant contracts, and so on. Emma looked at Rock with burning eyes. How about the highest level of master-servant contract? As soon as she made a move, she occupied the largest territory. The decisiveness and ruthlessness at this moment lived up to the name of the White Queen. Rock looked directly at Emma, with a smile on his lips. This decision will not disappoint you. In compliance with the call of the pure-blooded demon, a master-servant contract in the name of the Will of Hell soon appeared between the two. Without any hesitation, Emma signed her name and handed it to Rock, and Rock also signed his name casually. In this way, the master-servant contract was signed. The next moment, Rock's body exploded, turning into countless light particles and disappearing in front of Emma. I'll help you deal with that blood demon lord first. Looking at the direction where Rock left, Emma's beautiful eyes moved. Her choice was very decisive, even a little impulsive, but Emma did not regret it. A guy who dared to enter hell at will and would not be forcibly transformed by the laws of hell, this guy, no matter his strength or his own uniqueness, is absolutely first class. Cooperating with such a guy is very similar to the choice she made when she decided to become the White Queen of Hellfire. Emma has never regretted the choice of becoming the White Queen of Hellfire until now. Even if Hellfire failed, it was only because the former Black Emperor Xiao was not strong enough, not because of her choice. This time, she still did not regret it. This is the courage of the White Queen. In the Blood Castle, the elegant Blood Demon Lord suddenly changed his expression, turned around quickly, and stared in one direction. He felt a malicious feeling, an undisguised malicious feeling. Most importantly, that kind of majestic and sacred feeling like the sun definitely does not belong to hell. A strong man outside of hell was rushing towards the Blood Castle with malicious intent. Crack! The cup in his hand was crushed. At this time, the Blood Demon Lord no longer had the so-called gentlemanly elegance. His face was ferocious and violent. This was the characteristic of the devil from hell. Boom! A terrifying magic power rushed into the sky, and in an instant, the entire area was completely the sky was crimson and dark, and infinite magic power gathered in the sky, forming a huge bat shadow. The vast magic power of the legendary demon was released recklessly in all directions. Within a radius of nearly 1,000 meters, all the demons, whether they were the lowest level inferior demons or the higher level mutant demons, were suppressed to the ground by this terrifying and vast power and could not move. Countless demons showed extremely horrified expressions. My lord! It's the Lord! To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. I have only shown this kind of might when I was fighting against another Hell Lord. Standing on the sky, the Blood Demon Lord completely ignored the ant-like demons below, and his huge scarlet eyes stared in one direction. The next moment, light, holy, pure, and extreme, instantly tore through the dark magic sky, transforming into a holy and blurred shadow. Rock looked down at the blood demon lord below, with a strange color in his eyes. He is quite strong, stronger than Magneto and ex-priest, but not strong enough. After all, he is still a legendary lord, and is still a lord of hell who is naturally defeated by the power of light. I've never used this trick before, so I'll try it out on you. The vast power of light in his body instantly began to surge. Behind him, mirrors formed by pure light instantly condensed and hung on Rock's body, like a series of small suns, sacred and majestic. Baptism of light. As the 4 words fell, the countless small suns behind him suddenly burst into extremely bright and dazzling light. The next moment, boom! 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 Countless beams of light projected from the mirror, launching an overwhelming full-range sweep bombing within a radius of dozens of miles. No! Help! No! Escape! Escape quickly! Countless demons were wailing, screaming, and struggling, but it was useless. At this moment, from the lowest level demons to the high level demons, any beam of light would kill them instantly. 1 minute, 2 minutes. The light beam bombardment lasted nearly 10 minutes. When it was all over, the land under their feet, within a radius of dozens of miles, had turned into a pile of ruins. With this blow, tens of thousands of hell demons were instantly wiped out, and not a single residue was left. This is the terrifying part of the legendary skill, like a forbidden spell, terrifying and despairing. 1 second, 2 seconds. The powerful blood demon lord before was slow to show up, and Rock couldn't help shaking his head. It seems that he is a coward who is very timid and ran away. Although the legendary skill is powerful, it is not performed by Rock's real body, so it is not enough to completely kill a legendary demon lord. But at least it can severely injure that guy. It's just a pity. He obviously reserved the last bit of strength and was ready to try to take that guy down in one wave, but he turned out to be a coward. Rock curled his lips, and his entire spirit body began to slowly disintegrate. After a long time after Rock's spirit body dissipated, the ground under the ground suddenly trembled violently. Not long after, a huge blood-colored bat suddenly rushed out of the ground. At this time, the blood demon lord was in tatters and was extremely embarrassed. He no longer had the elegance and gentlemanly pretense he had previously shown. "Damn bastard, I will kill you, I will definitely kill you!" The blood demon lord roared angrily towards the sky, and the huge sound caused the air to vibrate and distort. "Oh, is that so? Fortunately, I still have a trick up my sleeve." The sudden voice made the blood demon lord's face change drastically. "Damn it, I just want to vent my anger for the last time, pretending to be cool, why hasn't this guy left yet?" No one could answer this question, but then, an unprecedentedly strong beam of light, more than 10 meters long, a terrifying beam of light that penetrated the sky and the earth, instantly locked the blood demon lord completely. The next moment, the infinite power of light instantly submerged the blood demon lord. Chapter 90. In the Marvel world, Rock was shocked, his vision was dazed, he took a deep breath and suppressed the uncomfortable feeling. A spiritual body completely dissipated, but there was still some consumption. Now Rock could feel a clear mental fatigue. Fortunately, it was not a big problem, he just needed to recuperate for a while. However, the harvest this time was not small. The highest contract has been signed, and the White Queen Emma in Hell is now even more trustworthy than the people around Rock. This time, it is equivalent to burying a very important nail in Hell. To say that this is done, it is not just because of preparation. The Hell in the Marvel world is very special, very special. Not only are there dimensional demons, but also some powerful and terrifying beings have walked out. For example, the Crimson Demon God Cedarak is suspected to have walked out of the Hell dimension, and then surpassed all the way, and hit the ranks of the multidimensional strongest. And the god of black magic Zidhorn, also known as the god of Hades, dare to say that he has nothing to do with hell? And the most important point is that the real master of hell, Satan, does not exist in the Marvel world. There is only one throne of the Lord of Hell, and the one who sits on it is Satan. Cedarak, Zidhorn, and 03 have not been able to become Satan. There are many possibilities. It may be that they can't become it, or they may refuse. But no matter what, the Satan in the Marvel world is most likely in existence of the same level as them. This is the clearest known route to become a diverse existence in the Marvel world. Rock is not sure to what extent the fairy tale world can reach. Maybe the fairy tale world is also diverse, or maybe not. In short, it is not a smart approach to only put the hope of becoming diverse in the fairy tale world. Prepare for both hands. One hand goes directly to the fairy tale world, and the other hand holds the position of Satan in your hand. Neither path can be given up. And this is one of the real reasons why Rock started to build his power. If it is just for pure enjoyment, establishing a Justice League and then becoming a Homelander, isn't it almost the same? Rock had the idea of forming a superhuman army a long time ago, but it is too early to say these now, and everything can only be done slowly. He rubbed his brows gently, and the last touch of dizziness gradually subsided. He looked around and said, "Let's go, it's time to go back." Not counting the hell, the harvest this time is not small. A quasi 4th level legendary subordinate, a legendary gem, and some other miscellaneous gains. The bright light spread out, instantly enveloping the illusion master and others. The next moment, the group suddenly turned into a beam of light and disappeared without a trace. At the same time, SHIELD. The hot and attractive elite Natasha returned to SHIELD, wearing a strange pair of glasses that had never been seen before. Although wearing glasses is a bit special, with Natasha's temperament and figure, it gives people a unique charm, and at most makes the passing agents look at it twice and no longer care. However, unlike other agents, Natasha at this time, although there is nothing special on her face, her heart is often surging. The origin of her glasses is not ordinary. They were given to her by the one in Hell's Kitchen. They are a kind of artificial extraordinary wonder developed by researchers in Hell's Kitchen. There is a clear description in Hell's Kitchen. Name: Favorability Glasses. Grade: Ordinary Wonder. Introduction: the favorability can be judged in 3 colors, red, yellow, and green. Green represents friendliness, yellow represents neutrality, and red represents disgust. The darker the color, the stronger the favorability. At this moment, what shocked Natasha was that at this moment, most of the colleagues and partners she usually had a good relationship with were in shocking red. There were even some that were almost black. According to the man in Hell's Kitchen, this was murderous intent. The other party had an extremely strong murderous intent towards her. And there were quite a few such people. Not every one of them was, but along the way, at least nearly 1 in 10 people had a strong murderous intent towards her. If it was just 1 or 2, it could be said that Natasha had offended them unintentionally. This kind of situation, which had obviously appeared in large numbers, was clearly not a simple matter of offending or not. There is a problem with S.H.I.E.L.D., a big problem. No wonder that person, everyone. Every time she mentioned S.H.I.E.L.D., she always had a half-smiley expression, like amusement, joke, and some sarcasm and contempt. How ridiculous! S.H.I.E.L.D., which has been committed to maintaining world peace, has no qualifications and ability at all. S.H.I.E.L.D. itself has actually had big problems. Natasha would not think that only those Crimson guys have problems. With Natasha's figure, appearance, and her level, to put it bluntly, unless she has really offended them, most people are at least yellow, and it is normal for yellow to be more green. But 99% of those who are red have problems. Finally, Natasha returned to her office area and saw her good friend Hawkeye. Seeing the green color shown by the favorability eyes, and it was a very deep green, Natasha finally breathed a sigh of relief. If Hawkeye was all red, she should really doubt the entire shield, which is actually the most terrifying wolf's den. Natasha, what's wrong with you? Your expression looks a little off. To read the best novels, go to Novel Network. Natasha was silent. If she wanted to kill Nick Fury before, she had to do it for the sake of justice. Now, Natasha has instinctively developed the intention to kill him. Shield is like this now, Nick Fury can't be completely fine. No wonder that person said that Nick 723 Fury is the source of evil. No force, no all liking to mess around is only one aspect. This guy himself has problems. After pondering for a moment, Natasha grabbed Hawkeye, dragged Hawkeye into a room, and then began to search around for something. Looking at Natasha's actions, even if he didn't know what Natasha wanted to do, he was familiar with the other party's actions. Every agent was familiar with them. This was searching for surveillance equipment. Hawkeye didn't care why Natasha did this, and he accompanied her in the search. After a while, the two elite agents searched the entire room twice. There couldn't be any technological surveillance in the world that could allow two elite agents to search twice and still not find it. Natasha, can you tell me now? What happened? Hawkeye asked with some concern. Natasha's expression was more serious than ever before. Clinton, do you believe me? Of course, we are old friends. So help me, Clinton, there's a problem with S.H.I.E.L.D., a big problem. I suspect that Nick Fury has a problem. Hawkeye's expression suddenly became serious, and he was silent for a full minute. Natasha, of course I believe you, what are you going to do? I have a lot to do. Now, let me take the first step. Kill him. Chapter 91. S.H.I.E.L.D., Director's Office. With Natasha's return, Director Black Egg immediately summoned his trusted subordinates back and started another meeting. Director Black Egg sat in the main seat, and the others sat down in turn. Natasha sat at the bottom and began to report on her work. Director, Hell's Kitchen is far more terrifying than we imagined. Here is some information I collected. I have copied it into several copies and will now distribute it to everyone. Natasha stood up from her seat and handed the documents in her hand to other colleagues one by one. The last one, which was also the thickest one, was handed to Nick Fury, the director of the Black Egg Bureau. The director of the Black Egg Bureau took the documents calmly and immediately lowered his eyes to look at the documents handed over by Natasha. He did not notice that Natasha did not return to her seat immediately at this time. Instead, a hand seemed to touch his wrist inadvertently. At the same time, Hawkeye below was also tense all over, as if a little nervous. Suddenly, a dagger burst out from the watch on his wrist. Natasha rushed towards the director of the Black Egg Bureau at the fastest speed in her life, and the murderous intent in her eyes was not concealed at all. This scene happened too suddenly. No one present thought that Natasha, as the confidant of the director of the Black Egg Bureau, would launch an attack at this moment. Even the director of the Black Egg Bureau himself did not notice that he was approached by Natasha in an instant. Natasha, you are crazy. What are you doing? It was too late for the others who reacted quickly to do anything at this time. At this time, Natasha's murderous eyes no longer had anyone else in them. She swung the dagger, and with her ultimate skills, she deftly cut through Nick Fury's eyes, which were wide open. Gulp, gulp. Blood flowed, and the black salted egg chief covered his neck, looking at Natasha in shock and confusion. The next moment, he collapsed powerlessly. Damn it, Natasha, what did you do? Sitting next to Director Black Boiled Egg, Deputy Director Maria Hill, whose status was second only to Director Black Boiled Egg, rushed up quickly. She was not like Nick Fury, who was in a high position and had lost his ability to fight. Hill, who had a slender figure, pounced directly at Natasha like a female leopard. Natasha did not resist, or at this time, she had no mood to resist at all. Hawkeye was ready to take action in an instant, but was stopped by Natasha's gaze. Then Natasha turned her eyes and looked at Nick Fury without blinking, watching the director of SHIELD die bit by bit. Damn it! Maria Hill was completely furious. Someone, call for emergency help. On the other side, the other men had already rushed to Nick Fury's side, stretched out their hands to test him, then took a deep breath and shook their heads. It's late. Maria Hill pressed Natasha hard. Natasha, are you crazy? Why are you doing this? But Natasha still did not resist, just staring at Nick Fury. Seeing Nick Fury completely died, Natasha couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, as if the big stone in her heart had completely fallen. However, the next moment, whether it was Natasha or others, their faces changed drastically. I saw that the dead Nick Fury's body was actually changing, and slowly turned into a green humanoid monster. Even Hill's eyes widened at this moment. How is it possible? Why would the director? Natasha's expression changed again and again. So that's how it is, Nick Fury, there is indeed a problem. Hill's expression changed, and he looked down at Natasha. Natasha, what do you know? However, at this time, an unparalleled force suddenly broke out, and Hill was actually blown away. Natasha stood up, looked around at everyone, and her eyes stayed on Hawkeye for a second longer. In fact, Natasha and Hawkeye had already planned that Natasha would take action personally. If the attack failed, Hawkeye would be responsible for the second wave of attacks. If it succeeded, then everything would be fine. If there were other major problems, Hawkeye would continue to hide and wait for an opportunity to take action. Obviously, under the current circumstances, Plan 3 is more suitable. After looking around at everyone, Natasha said coldly, you have all been deceived. After that, she quickly took out a micro smoke bomb and smashed it to the ground in an instant. A second later, the smoke bomb dispersed, and Natasha had disappeared without a trace. The scene fell into a strange silence for a while. Senior Agent Natasha suddenly rebelled and killed the director. The dead director turned into a monster. The series of changes were so shocking that everyone was stunned for a while. At this time, a secret room suddenly opened, and Nick Fury's familiar black dead face walked out of it. He didn't even look at the body lying on the ground, and kicked it away. This is just a replacement body. In addition, immediately issue a wanted order for the traitor Natasha, regardless of life or death. To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. The cold tone and expressionless look, he is indeed their director. Everyone obeyed the order habitually, but when their eyes inadvertently swept across the corpse on the ground, a strange color flashed across their eyes. At this moment, everyone's heart was stained with a shadow. It is said to be a substitute fake body, why doesn't it look like a human at all, but more like a monster? Suddenly, the shield, which was so familiar, seemed to become unfamiliar. At this time, in Hell's kitchen. In Rock's room, Rock was swinging a set of tea sets in an orderly manner. This was a set of precious tea sets presented by his subordinates, from the East. To be honest, Rock liked it very much. Suddenly, a puff of smoke rose up, and Natasha's figure emerged from it. Rock was not surprised. After all, those things were given to her by Rock. Rock himself knew what they were used for. At this time, Natasha had a heavy face, seemed to be in deep thought, and seemed to be recalling something. What are you thinking about? Natasha came back to her senses in an instant. I was thinking, Nick Fury, what on earth was replaced by the monster? I have been in SHIELD for so many years, but I have never found any problem. Are you so sure that the black brined eggs you touched before are the black brined eggs you know? Natasha's expression changed. You mean, Nick Fury has never been a human? Rock shook his head and nodded. There is no need to doubt his human identity, but are you really sure that you know your director? Natasha was silent. At this moment, she suddenly felt that she might never have known the real Nick Fury. Excuse me, sir, what exactly is that green monster? The Skrulls, the most notorious alien life form, originated from the Skrull Empire, one of the three major empires in the universe. What is their relationship with Nick Fury? Natasha asked in confusion. What's the relationship? That's the question. The Skrulls are called copycats in the universe. As the name suggests, they have a strong ability to copy and transform. They can easily disguise themselves as other creatures and even obtain the memories of others. It is with this characteristic that the Skrulls have developed rapidly and become one of the three major empires in the universe. As a result, they have become the most notorious tribe. After all, no one likes a race that can replace you at any time. Natasha's face became solemn. Such a race is really terrible. About a dozen years ago, a team of Skrulls discovered Earth by chance and prepared to invade it, but they failed in the end and were defeated by a very strong and lucky guy. From then on, Nick Fury accepted that team of Skrulls. Natasha's eyes suddenly widened. Why did Nick Fury do that? How dare he recruit such a terrible race? Who do you think you are? How dare you recruit such a notorious race in the whole universe? At first, his courage came from the powerful superhuman who defeated the Skrulls, but that superhuman left the Earth a long time ago. Later, I don't know where your black-blooded director got the courage and confidence. Facing Rock's undisguised playful and sarcastic tone, at this moment, Natasha finally understood why the man in front of her defined Nick Fury as a fool without any fear. If you have the same powerful force and strength as Hell's Kitchen, it is barely understandable to use this terrible copycat alien. In the end, you are just an ordinary person, whose fighting power cannot even beat an ordinary SHIELD agent. Where do you get the courage to forcibly control this terrible race? And you use them like tools. At this moment, Natasha finally determined why Nick Fury himself could not find out why S.H.I.E.L.D. had such a big problem. That guy himself was the biggest source of the problem. Stupid and fearless. He didn't know his own stupidity and always thought he could control everything. It's terrible that S.H.I.E.L.D. has such a director. Thank God that it has not collapsed until now and turned into an evil organization that destroys the world. Do you think Nick Fury didn't become a terrorist because he was lucky? No, on the contrary, it is because he is so good at causing trouble. In a sense, he is more villainous than villains and more terrorist than terrorists, which is why a real evil villain force protects him at all costs. Without the protection of Hydra, Nick Fury, who has always treated the Skrulls as dogs, would have been attacked by the Backlash. Chapter 92. After hesitating for a while, Natasha asked. Sir, may I ask why so many people in S.H.I.E.L.D. want to kill me? Even if they were Skrulls, they wouldn't have replaced so many agents, right? Otherwise, they would have launched another war of aggression. That is indeed not a Skrull. In a sense, it can be regarded as the guardian of your S.H.I.E.L.D. Guardian. Natasha was getting more and more confused. Why would the Guardian want to kill her? She had never wanted to betray him before. Hydra. Natasha's eyes widened instantly. The Hydra that was destroyed by Captain Steve. They didn't actually perish. Hydra, a monster with 9 heads, why do you think that the captain of the soldiers would destroy all of Hydra? Natasha understood instantly that the captain destroyed only part of Hydra. But then why are there so many Hydra members in S.H.I.E.L.D? Could it be that Nick Fury is also a member of Hydra? He is not, but he is more Hydra than any other Hydra member. A long time ago, he was valued by the leader of one of the Hydra branches, who thought he was a natural Hydra, so he was promoted to the position of director of S.H.I.E.L.D. at all costs. Nick Fury lived up to the leader's trust. Under the leadership of Nick Fury, the Hydra that was not Hydra, the Hydra branch quickly became stronger. Now, it has become one of the strongest branches of Hydra. If the leaders of each Hydra branch were not extraordinary, that branch might have controlled all Hydra branches and completed the goal that Red Skull failed to achieve in 410. Natasha. I can't complain at all. Nick Fury, you bastard, it would be great if you could be so efficient in doing good things. You don't do any good things, but do bad things. Your ability is directly off the charts, right? Fuck, this bastard is such a troublemaker and a bug. Natasha cursed. What a pity that I couldn't kill him that time. If she had felt some guilt before, now it was pure pity. Natasha definitely didn't want to waste 2 seconds to kill Nick Fury. Bitch, when I face him next time, I will kill that bastard with my own hands. That's a good goal. Rock agreed. Natasha was silent for a while, then suddenly said. Sir, you should have guessed that I would definitely fail, right? Natasha is not stupid. As the top female agent in SHIELD, in some cases, she can even be called the best. The other top female agents, May and Hill, are both reckless and more of a commander. Only she is good at both literature and martial arts, and has the highest overall quality. Continue. Rock stared at Natasha calmly. Natasha pondered for a moment before speaking. With your wisdom, it is impossible that you didn't think that the guy would choose a substitute, but you didn't take the initiative to remind me. Of course, you don't have such a responsibility, but I think this should also be a test of my comprehensive ability. I must be very disappointed with you now. I acted rashly without investigating all the circumstances, which directly led to failure, J. The atmosphere fell into silence for a short time. Rock took a sip of tea and said, I said that it doesn't matter whether Nick Fury is dead or alive. He is just a worthless bug. Whether you fail or not, it doesn't matter. What I need is your growth. Do you really think you can take on the position of director of SHIELD now? Natasha was silent. She used to be the Black Widow of the Red Room, an elite with the highest mission completion rate. Later, she became a top agent of SHIELD, and she was also outstanding in any degree of completion. There is no doubt that Natasha is an absolute elite, but the problem is that she has always been a gun in the hands of others. She is the best pioneer, warrior, and agent, but not the best leader. To be more precise, she has never been a leader. Can she really sit on the position of director of SHIELD? The answer is obvious, no. After a moment, Natasha's eyes suddenly lit up. Sir, I understand what you mean. Tell me. Rock remained calm. My failure was inevitable. Even if I succeeded in killing Nick Fury, I couldn't completely control SHIELD, which was occupied and even led by Hydra. Only if I fail can I hide from the light to the dark side. I can erode the current shield little by little, just like Hydra eroded shield. Finally, on the basis of the current shield, I will rebuild my own shield. Rock smiled, a satisfied smile. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead, show me your work. When you achieve your goal, I will personally give you a gift worthy of the position of director of SHIELD. For example, help you for the miracle. Natasha's breathing became rapid in an instant. Legend, that is a legend. Standing at the top of countless superhumans. Possessing his own strength, he can fight against everything and resist the power of nuclear bombs. At this moment, Natasha's eyes were fanatical and excited. She looked at Rock, the adult, as if she wanted to swallow him up. Sir, I think, no matter how anxious you are, you don't have to leave now. With the Black Widow's current enthusiasm and excitement, even if Rock wanted to play an office game, she would definitely not refuse. However, Rock refused, and instead waved his hand to eject a card. Natasha took the card and saw the number on it that looked like a room number. She instantly understood and bit her lip seductively. Sir, I'll go down first. When Natasha was about to retreat to the door, Rock's voice suddenly rang out. In SHIELD, you can have friends, and you can also have opponents. Natasha was stunned. Of course she understood that she could have friends. In fact, she already knew which people could be recruited to become the new SHIELD. She even had a list in her mind, but the question was, what did it mean to have opponents? Whether it was the Skrulls, Nick Fury, or Hydra, they should all be considered enemies, not opponents. The word opponent is not as hostile as the enemy, it is more like. Suddenly, Natasha seemed to have thought of something, and her expression changed again and again. To read the exciting novels, go to Falu Novel Network. She took a deep breath. Sir, I understand. Not long after she left, a voice suddenly sounded from Rock's ear. Sir, is this considered partiality? This is not a means of transmitting sound, but an earphone that is worn on Rock's ear. Partiality? Maybe, you and she are not equal in status, so there is nothing wrong with me being a little partial. It's true that our identities are not equal, but what I need to do is much more troublesome than what she has to do. Not only do I need to reorganize the now messed up shield, but I also need to deal with those annoying members of Congress. So what? I don't need you to be partial to me, but I also want your promise to her. Haha, you guys from SHIELD are really interesting, you don't hide your inner thoughts at all. Only in front of you. I heard that you were always a tough commander, but I never heard that you could flatter others, Maria Hill. I will only do this to you. Rock did not comment, and after a moment, he said lightly yes. Again, Rock did not care who the director of SHIELD was. He just needed to replace him with someone who was not so stupid and had a fearful heart. Whether it was the sexy and charming Black Widow Natasha, or the iron-blooded commander, Maria Hill with a pair of straight long legs, Rock really didn't care. After getting Rock's approval, the other party's tone was obviously much more hurried. You are so generous, sir, you will see the best show. I'll wait and see. You will definitely not be disappointed. After the call ended, Rock's face was filled with a playful and expectant expression. Rock didn't like Nick Fury, that stupid black egg, but Rock obviously preferred the latter to killing him with one finger, and to tease him like a monkey, and then to kill him when he was most desperate and unwilling. Natasha, who was rebelling openly, and Hill, the deputy director of SHIELD, who secretly defected to Rock, just thinking about the drama of SHIELD fighting SHIELD, you can feel the excitement. As for when Deputy Director Hill defected to Rock, it was when Natasha was still wandering and observing in Hell's Kitchen, she actually sneaked in. After all, unlike the agents who are purely under the jurisdiction of SHIELD, Maria Hill, the Deputy Director, is actually a subordinate of a higher level. The people who made the arrangements were not pure SHIELD people. So, after she noticed the problem in Hell's Kitchen, even if Nick Fury didn't order her, she still found a way to act. After realizing the strength of Hell's Kitchen, Hill decisively surrendered. Since he could get 2 salaries, why would he mind getting 3? Speaking of which, in terms of decisiveness, ruthlessness, and acting skills, Hill is actually better than Natasha. And these 3 points are obviously the necessary elements for a leader, especially the leader of an agent organization. In some cases, Hill is actually more suitable to be the new director of SHIELD than Natasha. Chapter 93. The original Snow White world, now the Witch King world. At this moment, the Witch Queen, now the Witch King, was filled with surging magic power. At this moment, the Witch King was trying to reach the professional level. It was not easy for ordinary apprentices to reach the professional level, let alone the Witch King. The magic power factor in this world was only strong enough to reach the level of being able to reach the professional level. She was forcing the attack, and the probability of failure was very high, but if successful, she would also gain a lot. Seeing that the magic power factor around the opponent began to become unstable, Rock flicked his finger, and a gem floated out. It was the potential crystal. This legendary artifact sprinkled with power, assisting the Witch King's breakthrough. With the help of the potential crystal, the Witch King's originally unstable aura finally gradually became stable. After a while, a professional level aura instantly spread to the surroundings. At the moment when the Witch King succeeded in breaking through, the whole world seemed to come alive, as if celebrating something, cheering for something. At this moment, in a mountain far away from the palace, the former Snow White suddenly looked up, and a deep and magnificent light flashed in her beautiful eyes. After a moment, she sighed. What a pity, after all, it was still one step short. As soon as the voice fell, this pure body, as white as snow, without any impurities, began to collapse bit by bit. After a moment, it collapsed into a ball of white snow. The last long sigh lingered in the valley for a long time. At this time, in the palace, Rock, who had been guarding on the side, suddenly raised his eyes and looked in a distant direction. She destroyed herself, which was quite decisive. At this time, the Witch Queen also opened her beautiful eyes. As she broke through the professional level, her eyes became more profound, and the witch's temptation became more amazing. He is not decisive, he just cannot lose. The Son of God, following God's will, how could you lose to a mere mortal like me? That's right. Rock nodded. This world is the most special among all the fairy tale worlds Rock has experienced. The special thing is not how powerful it is, but the existence of Snow White, who is suspected to be the descendant of God. The descendants of God are not special. What is special is that the descendants of God have come, but this world has not been alienated, and the world itself has not rejected Snow White. No matter what the real reason is, the God behind Snow White must be a very special God. According to Rock's estimation, he should be a righteous God, or a special righteous God who is not rejected by the world itself. It was precisely because of this discovery that Rock only continued to merge with this world after a few times, even though he had the card of world fusion. Both the Little Red Riding Hood world and the Tinderbox world are not of low grade. Once merged with this world, this comprehensive world is likely to grow into a high magic world that can carry legendary breakthroughs. However, this is also a problem. Every integration into the world is equivalent to a world upgrade, which will form a feedback to the creatures in the world. The more representative it is, the more popular it will be. The more the world loves a person, the more he will be rewarded, and the more his strength will be improved. At the beginning, it was obvious that the most beloved person in this world would never be the Witch King, but the special daughter of God who was not rejected by the world. If this point is not resolved, Snow White, who has been merging worlds and reaping the benefits, may be pushed to the level of legend, demigod, or even God by Rock. Rock is not a selfless saint, so how could he work hard and give all the big dividends to others? Therefore, he temporarily stopped merging worlds and devoted himself to cultivating the Witch King. The Witch King did not disappoint him, and became the guide and ruler of this world, and the first to break the limit and be promoted to the professional level. If this world has all the destiny and world will, then at this moment, the most beloved life in the world has been completely transferred to the Witch King. Without this special love, the existence value of Snow White is already very small, so the other party chose to self-destruct. Losing is not allowed, and the will of God will not lose, but you can die. Now is the time, let's start. The Witch King looked at Rock with scorching eyes. Now that her destiny has been transferred and she has integrated into the new world, the Witch King who has just broken through will surely break through again. This is the characteristic of the king of the world, the person loved by the world. The stronger the world, the stronger the loved one. Rock nodded, and a hint of expectation emerged in his eyes. The Witch King is loved by the world. As the master of the Witch King, Rock also has half the identity of being loved and can enjoy this benefit. In fact, at the beginning, Rock could enjoy this complete benefit. After all, it was him who controlled the fusion of the world, and he himself was the most special. But Rock gave up this special love. It turned out that because of no other reason, the world's love and the special feedback from the world make him stronger as the world becomes stronger, and likewise, he will become weaker as the world becomes weaker. While receiving this blessing, he will also be bound by the world. Naturally, Rock will not accept being bound to a certain world. The next moment, accompanied by Rock's control. Boom! Boom! There were two consecutive collision sounds of the world, and the three worlds that began to merge were shaking, and the void was trembling, causing all kinds of amazing visions. As the visions continued to evolve, the magic factor of the entire world began to rise rapidly. At the same time, the magic power of the Witch Queen, who had just broken through, was also slowly soaring. Elementary professional level, intermediate professional level, advanced professional level, in a turn, and reached the limit of the professional level, reaching a level that was not inferior to the puppet armored giant. At this point, the boiling magic power had already died down for the most part, and it was not enough to advance further. After a moment, the Witch King opened her eyes, and there was an obvious regret in her eyes. To read the violent novel, go to Philo Novel Network. If possible, who would not want to step into the legend? Unfortunately, the concentration of the magic factors of the several fused worlds themselves was not high enough to allow her to transform directly. Suddenly, the Witch King looked in one direction, and a solemn look appeared in her eyes. In the distance, at the end of the sky, it seemed as if a moon was rising. Under the rising moon, there was a wolf, howling at the moon. The power surging around it was only slightly worse than that of the current Witch King. 0 Please give me flowers 0. What's even more terrifying is that, next to the huge and majestic moon wolf, there is a figure leaning against it. He is wearing a big red robe, a red hat covering his face, and black stockings and a miniskirt on his lower body. He looks sexy and mysterious, and has some evil charm. Seeing this man and wolf, the Witch King looked solemn. Little Red Riding Hood. His tone was full of doubt, but it was also full of affirmation. To be able to reach this level at the beginning of the world fusion, it was obviously the Little Red Riding Hood with the legendary extraordinary sequence mentioned by Rock, the legendary hunter. He gently pushed the hood, revealing a delicate face, and what was even more attractive was the pair of extremely sharp eyes. His lips moved slightly, and a voice directly crossed the space and rang in the ears of the Witch King. Are you the king he chose? Excuse me, but I don't think you deserve his approval. The charming eyes of the Witch King also became sharp in an instant. This woman is provoking. Don't think that witches can only serve people, bitch. An amazing aura of the extreme professional level spread out, and the opponent was not at all weak. The life positions of a man and a wolf intertwined with each other, bursting out with an aura that was not inferior at all, no, even in some cases, it was even better, and confronted the Witch King. The Witch King is the king of the fusion world and is chosen by all aspects. However, Little Red Riding Hood is a legendary sequence, and even broke through the professional level earlier than the Witch King. Even Little Red Riding Hood itself is loved by the original world, and the growth rate is naturally not slower than the Witch King. The two extreme auras of the professional level began to collide head-on, and in an instant, the sky. The world fusion phenomenon was no less powerful than before, and the void was almost distorted. Seeing that the confrontation between the two people's auras was getting more and more outrageous, and the auras they triggered were getting more and more shocking, suddenly, boom! A terrifying aura instantly rushed into the sky, like an extremely sacred and majestic light, tearing the sky in an instant, and shattering the auras of the two people directly. This is not stopping yet. This aura is getting stronger and stronger, more and more terrifying. In a blink of an eye, the void began to ripple with terrifying ripples, as if it could not bear this power and almost collapsed completely. At this moment, the terrible aura suddenly stopped, and all the auras dissipated instantly. At this moment, Rock opened his eyes, and his eyes were filled with a majestic golden light. Professional level limit. The professional level limit is almost the same as that of the Witch King and Little Red Riding Hood. However, the same level does not mean the same expressiveness and combat effectiveness. With Rock's tremendous background, Rock's limit explosive power at this moment is definitely not inferior to the legendary limit. No, it is even one level higher. After all, Rock's background is so strong that he can burst out to the extent of being half a level higher after being one level higher. At this time, if Rock tries his best, he can say that he is invincible below the demigod. As for whether he can exchange one for one above the demigod, we need to fight to know. Chapter 94. The majestic golden eyes slowly lowered and stared at the Witch King and Little Red Riding Hood, who were facing each other. It was an unexpected gain. Rock thought that the world was integrated, and it would be good to train the Witch King in a short time. Unexpectedly, Little Red Riding Hood's growth speed was not inferior to that of the Witch King. He didn't pay attention to the confrontation between the two. Instead, Rock felt it was quite interesting. If all women had no personality of their own and were like beautiful vases, it would be boring. So, you two who just broke through, are you going to quickly adapt to your own strength through fighting? Upon hearing this, Little Red Riding Hood immediately looked at the Witch King provocatively. I have no objection, but I wonder if this big shot, who looks like he lives a life of luxury, would dare to do that. 89-3. The eyelids of the Witch King twitched wildly. Provocation, this is naked provocation, close to the face and open the big gun. How can I tolerate this? The Witch King didn't waste any words, and directly gestured to Little Red Riding Hood, turned around and disappeared without a trace as a magic shadow. Little Red Riding Hood's eyes lit up, and she instantly jumped behind Moon Wolf. At the same time, the moon also turned into a stream of light and followed closely. Not long after, in the distant mountains, there were astonishing energy fluctuations, and the earth trembled, and the mountains and rivers shuddered. These two are definitely not inferior to the top three in the Hell's Kitchen arena at this time. In some cases, they are even better. After just a glance at the battlefield of the two women, Rock no longer cared. It's good to make a fuss. With comparison and competition, there will be more motivation to move forward. Suddenly, Rock raised his eyebrows, and his figure instantly disappeared from the spot. A moment later, Rock returned to the Marvel world. As soon as he returned, not long after, there was a hurried knock on the door outside. Come in. The door was pushed open, and the maid Wanda said anxiously. Sir, the thing you have been asking me to pay attention to has happened. Hearing this, Rock's eyes suddenly shrank. At this time, there are not many things that can make Rock care about. He deliberately asked Wanda to pay attention to it. Then there is only one thing left. That playboy is missing. Yes, sir. Rock's eyebrows slightly frowned. The disappearance of Playboy Tony Stark also means that it is the time period for major Marvel events to take place. You go down first. Yes, sir. After walking a few steps, Wanda said uneasily, Sir, that Playboy, is he dead? Wanda may be one of the people in the world who cares most about the safety of the Playboy Tony Stark. In some cases, she cares more about him than Tony Stark's bodyguard and future wife Pepper Potts. It's because Wanda hasn't taken revenge yet. If Tony Stark dies like this, she will be so frustrated that she wants to die without revenge. Don't worry, he won't die. Even if he dies, I will go to hell and bring him back, giving you a chance for revenge. Wanda's expression immediately calmed down. Thank you, sir. The little maid left, and Rock's face regained its solemnity. The beginning of Marvel's big event is nothing, after all, it will take some time for a sub-god level boss to appear, but the problem now is that this world is not a pure Avengers world. The X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and so on, all exist in this world. Some time ago, Spider-Man appeared, and now Iron Man is about to be born. Obviously, the Earth will usher in the most chaotic period in the future, and no one knows when various bosses will show up to show their presence. Strength, I need more strength. At the very least, only with the power of a demigod/subfather can one take the initiative in the next world and become the controller on the chessboard, rather than a chess piece. Without hesitation, Rock immediately pulled open the light curtain. At this time, with the fusion of the Little Red Riding Hood world and the Tinderbox world, 2 new world vacancies appeared again, and at this time, the new world vacancies had been automatically doubled, and 2 new worlds were randomly created. Daughter of the sea, the devil in the bottle. When Rock saw these two worlds, he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. They are actually two worlds without alienation. To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. Wait, that's not right. As if he suddenly remembered something, Rock's expression became serious. The so-called alienated world generally refers to the world watched by gods, and various changes occur under the influence of the power of gods. But, what if there are gods in that fairy tale world? Obviously, the daughter of the sea, the devil in the bottle, these two fairy tale worlds are worlds that have traces of miracles. These two worlds are suspected to have gods. They are not invaders, not outsiders, but genuine local gods. The devil in the bottle clearly states that the devil is sealed by God. Although the daughter of the sea is not so clear, but there are mermaids, daughters of the sea, and the sea king. Can this be an ordinary world? Although it is not 100% clear, it is highly likely that this world has a sea god. At least, there is a clear inheritance of the sea god. Rock fell into deep thought. The non-alienated world does not need to care about the inexplicable appearance of foreign gods, but this kind of world with deep water is no less dangerous. The question now is which world to go to first. Reasonably speaking, the daughter of the sea is more suitable. It is obviously safer. After all, no matter how high the probability is, it is not clearly stated. Compared with another world with 100% gods, 0.2 is safer after all. However, in the world of the devil in the bottle, although there is a god, it is highly likely that it is actually a positive god. The devil is only sealed instead of killed. Unless it is the kind of old shaman with all kinds of layouts, it is highly likely that it is a god with a good temper. On the contrary, in the world of the daughter of the sea, although it is not certain whether there is really a god now, it can be seen from the rules of that world that the suspected god is not a good-tempered god. If you don't get love, you will turn into bubbles, showing a cold and cruel style. After just a moment of thinking, Rock made a decision. No matter if it's dangerous or not, just choose the one that's more profitable. Don't be afraid of a bird's egg, at worst we can just fight. Chapter 95. On the azure seashore, waves hit the shore, and the sound of surging waves kept rising and falling. The slightly salty sea breeze came from all directions, giving people an extremely comfortable and cool feeling. This is a corner of the ocean. It is not big, but it also shows the scenery of the ocean. I don't know when, this beach has an extra person, and I don't know when, a simple wooden house was built. This extra person seems to be ready to live on this beach for a long time. Planted some jokes that have never appeared on the beach, and fed two cute little animals that are rarely seen in the ocean. Very special liquid, red, brown, seems to be a drink, but unfortunately I don't know what it tastes like. And there are those tempting looking foods and so on. In short, I don't know when it started, and stories about mysterious people began to circulate in the sea. He didn't know where he came from, he loved the ocean, he would not hurt the fish, and sometimes he would throw them back when he accidentally saw marine life. He was also very magical, with many treasures that had never been seen in the sea. He is very special, very mysterious, and very attractive to some ignorant little guys. Just like now, a few pairs of curious eyes secretly emerged half from the ocean, looking at the mysterious two-legged creature on the beach with great curiosity. According to the sea wizard grandmother, such a two-horned creature is called a human. They don't know what a human is, but this human is so special. Exquisite facial features, always maintaining a warm smile, just like the sea breeze, very comfortable, making them want to touch and want to get close. At this time, this mysterious two-legged human is throwing a long pole. According to the sea wizard grandmother, this is a two-legged human fishing. The two-legged human is naughty, why is he fishing? How beautiful and cute the mermaid is! Although there is a little repulsion, they do not resist this mysterious two-legged human. Because many little fish know that this mysterious two-legged human can't catch fish with the pole he throws out. There is no delicious food on the pole to attract fish, nor is there a strange hook that hurts when it is hooked. There is only a pole and a line. No fish will be caught by a pole like that, not even the dumbest fish. So, everyone didn't hate this strange two-legged human who used a strange pole to fish. Instead, they felt that this two-legged human was very special and interesting. A huge wave came from behind, and the little guys who had been secretly watching the mysterious two-legged human were caught in the wave and slapped towards the shore. Most of the little guys, the adult ones, were strong enough and familiar with water. Even if they were not careful, they managed to break free in the end. Only the youngest, the weakest, and the one who had never encountered such a situation, struggled several times without success, and finally could only slap the shore in fear and anxiety. Just after being slapped out, the remaining water flow had not completely left, and the little guy turned over with some difficulty, trying to get back into the water. Suddenly, the little guy felt a black above him, as if he was covered by some terrible monster. Her whole body stiffened, and with some difficulty, she slowly turned around, and saw that, since I don't know when, the mysterious two-legged human had appeared behind her, almost covering the whole body of the little girl. The little girl panicked, completely panicked. Although they were very curious about this two-legged human, the sea wizard grandmother once said that humans were evil and greedy. They would take them away and do strange things to them, and would force them to cry. In order to make them cry, they would not give them food. To read the violent novel, go to Philo Novel Network. No. She didn't want to do strange things, let alone not eat. Not eating would spoil. It's terrible. Just when the little girl closed her eyes in fear and despaired about the future life without food, a hand, a warm hand, very different from their cold body feeling, gently grabbed her, and then the little girl's whole body was scooped up. In just half the time of blowing bubbles, the little girl actually felt the familiar and comfortable feeling of the sea water again. The little guy stared at the familiar water sources around him in confusion, and then looked at the mysterious two-legged human who put him back. A finger gently tapped the little guy's white head. It didn't hurt, but it made the little guy feel itchy and numb, a feeling he had never experienced before. Little thing, go back quickly, don't be so careless next time. The little guy left, the kind of person who looked back from time to time left. Rock didn't care, and returned to his original position, casually throwing out the fishing rod without any hook or bait, squinting his eyes slightly, enjoying the comfortable sea breeze. What a special world! This is the world of the daughter of the sea. There is no cold god as expected. Everything is very special. You can stay here for a month. This is completely different from any other mission. It is the first time for Rock to encounter it, but he doesn't hate it. Although he may not get the strategy reward, but Rock narrowed his eyes slightly, feeling the free and active magic factor in the air. The magic factor of this world, both in terms of concentration and quality, far exceeds any fairy tale world Rock has encountered before. Even the original Snow White world, which is a fusion of several worlds, is far from comparable. The talent of multiple growth was fully utilized at this moment. Rock even felt that even if he did nothing and just stayed here, it would not take long for Rock to spontaneously break the legendary shackles that troubled countless creatures. This was the most special world Rock had experienced. It was not like the world where he had to do tasks before. It was more like a world where he could go on vacation. To be honest, this world felt pretty good. In this situation, Rock completely relaxed and treated it as a special vacation. Therefore, he threw back the little sea elf that had just aroused the greed of countless people without any care. Chapter 96. Rock felt the vitality factor, leaning on the recliner to bask in the sun. With gusts of warm wind blowing, he closed his eyes and fell asleep in a daze. The fishing rod in his hand slipped to the ground at some point. Yesterday's elf quietly floated to the surface of the water and looked at Rock, who was sleeping, with curiosity. In fact, humans are not as terrible as the sea wizard grandmother said. Yesterday, this human did not hurt her and helped her return to the sea. After returning, she told her friends that she was rescued by the human who was fishing. No matter what she said, her friends just didn't believe it and reminded her not to get close to humans, which would be very dangerous. The elf had no choice. After playing with her friends on the seabed for a while today, she wanted to see the human again. When she swam over, she saw the white line under the fishing rod, but there was still no hook or bait. This human is so stupid. No fish will be fooled. The elf stared at Rock for a long time without blinking, and didn't feel bored at all. Rock has a strong mental power and keenly feels that someone is watching him. But this gaze is not malicious, but curious. Rock slowly opened his eyes and saw the elf from yesterday staring at him with wide eyes. "It's you, why are you here again? Be careful not to be caught by humans." Rock walked over and touched the little guy's white head. "Thank you for yesterday." The elf blew out a few bubbles and made a series of chirping sounds. "You're welcome." Rock smiled and took a few sips of the red plum juice on the side. The elf blinked his big eyes and stared at the red liquid in the cup. "What is that? Does it taste like seaweed? I want to try it." The elf licked his lips and almost drooled. Seeing this, Rock handed the red plum juice to the elf's mouth. "Have a taste, it's sweet." I don't know if the elf can taste sweetness. After all, it is an elf living in the sea, different from humans. The elf chirped and looked around, but didn't see any other friends. The sea wizard grandma was not here either. What should I do? I really want to have a sip. She licked the red plum juice in Rock's cup tremblingly. The taste was very strange, completely different from the seaweed in the sea. Although she didn't know what it was, she liked it very much. The elf took a few sips bravely and swam back to the sea happily for a few circles. A melodious song rang out on the sea. It was the sound of nature. The elf was singing to Rock, expressing her joy and gratitude. Rock had never. After hearing such a special song, it was like a warm current slowly flowing through his chest. All the fatigue in his body was swept away. The fish in the sea bottom surfaced one by one, listening to the song in fascination. Rock found that the originally rich vitality factor became more active, and the elf's singing seemed to have some magical power. An interesting discovery. In the original book, it was never mentioned that the singing of the elf mermaid would have such magic. Thinking of the little guy's tongue cut off by the sea wizard because of the prince and unable to speak, Rock's heart was full of regrets. Where did the cut tongue go? Rock suddenly wanted to know. How many unknown secrets are hidden under the story? After the song ended, Rock smiled and applauded. "Elf, you sang really well." "I'm not an elf, I'm a mermaid." The little girl protested with a pout. But the mermaid was very happy to hear Rock praising her singing. The fish that surfaced to listen to the mermaid singing quietly left and returned to the bottom of the sea. The water surface returned to calm again. At this moment, a large ship slowly approached. The bow was carved with exquisite patterns, and there were beautiful paintings on the side of the ship. It was obvious that the owner of the ship was extraordinary. Rock and the mermaid looked at the ship at the same time. To read the exciting novel, go to Novel Network. Many people in gorgeous clothes on the ship were celebrating the birthday of the prince, who was looking at everyone with a smile on his face. Someone was dancing and singing beside him, and someone was accompanying the music. Rock frowned. Could this be the prince who fell into the water in the original book? There is not a trace of wind now, the sky is cloudless, and the other party's ship is sturdy and durable. And this place is close to the shore. How could a sudden strong wind blow the prince into the water? When I read the original book before, I didn't think so much. When things really happened in front of me, I felt that some details could not stand scrutiny. Rock had previously guessed that there were gods in this world. Could this wind be the masterpiece of God? The other party deliberately let the strong wind capsize the boat. The prince's ship is not a small sailboat. The strong wind that can capsize a huge ship cannot be an ordinary wind. The mermaid looked at the prince on the boat curiously. The other party was handsome and unrestrained, that's all. She glanced at the other party a few times. These people were too noisy, the singing was not beautiful, and the dancing was not beautiful enough. Rock was still interesting. What's wrong with you? Why are you frowning? The mermaid turned around and saw Rock frowning, and asked in confusion. Don't you like him? Rock came back to his senses and asked the mermaid. In the original book, the mermaid fell in love with the prince as soon as she saw him. She stared with her eyes wide open, her mind full of curiosity. At this moment, the mermaid didn't seem to have any intention of falling in love with the other person. What is love? The mermaid wondered. Just as Rock was about to answer, a strong wind suddenly blew. The wind suddenly blew in the sunny weather, blowing directly towards the prince's ship, raising huge waves all around. The ship, which was stable just now, was suddenly up and down in the waves, swaying from side to side, and there were bursts of screams and cries for help from the ship. This wind was so strange. It was as if someone was deliberately stirring up waves near the ship, but it was calm further away. It must be the gods of this world who are playing tricks. Rock saw that the wind blew the people off the ship, and the prince fell into the water as well. The mermaid was originally going to save someone next to her. The fat noble was suddenly stunned for a moment, ignoring the other party's call for help, and swam towards the prince who was farther away. Rock watched the mermaid's actions, and now he was more certain that everything was arranged by God. The mermaid did not fall in love with the prince at first, it was the God of this world that made her fall in love with him. Since it was God's decision from the beginning, then all the experiences of the little mermaid later were also designed by him. This is not a positive God, most likely an evil God. Rock originally thought that this world was safer. Now he dare not think so anymore. How can a world with an evil God be safe? The mermaid dragged the prince to the shore. Her eyes were full of love when she looked at the prince. Compared with just now, she seemed like a different person. Mermaid, let me do it. Rock said as he was about to help the prince, because the mermaid had a fish tail and it was not convenient for her to. No. The mermaid shook her head and dragged the prince to the shore with difficulty. She held the prince's hand tightly and looked at him excitedly. Chapter 97. The prince was pale and lying motionless on the shore, his gorgeous robe dripping with water. The mermaid patted his face anxiously, trying to wake him up. Wake up, the mermaid chirped. She couldn't speak human language, and the prince couldn't understand her. Rock stood aside and watched the mermaid patting the prince's chest, but the other's chest didn't move at all, just lying there motionless. He didn't go forward to save people. Just now, Rock guessed that the storm or the mermaid's love were controlled by the gods of this world. Of course, this is just a guess, and whether it is true or not needs to be verified. Rock wanted to see if no one went to save the prince, would he wake up by himself, or would he die? The mermaid was exhausted, but still couldn't wake the prince up. When she was at a loss, she suddenly thought of Rock. Rock had saved her before. He was a human, but a kind person. He would definitely save the prince. Please save him, please. The mermaid chirped, she knew Rock could understand her. The elf looked at Rock with wet eyes, tears turned into pearls and fell. Rock didn't want to help at first, but seeing the mermaid so sad, he softened his heart and agreed. Don't worry, I'll take a look. In the original book, a mermaid rescued the prince from the sea, and another young girl took the prince away and saved him. Rock was thinking, if he was the one who saved him this time, how would the story go? What would the world become like? With such doubts, Rock walked towards the prince. After just 2 steps, Rock missed his step and fell to the ground with a plop. He looked at the beach under his feet in surprise. In addition to sand and some broken shells, there was a nearly 20-centimeter deep pit where he had just stepped. He fell because he stepped into this deep pit. Rock has a strong mental strength and is a mutant. He can be sure that there was no deep pit here a few seconds ago. Under normal circumstances, he should not have fallen at all. It seemed that there was a strange force controlling this beach just now, and a pit appeared out of thin air. It's the evil god. Rock reacted immediately. He looked up and saw that the place where he fell was less than 1 meter away from the prince. The evil god was stopping him from saving the prince. Perhaps because he was not a native of this world, the evil god could not control him and could only control this beach. In addition, Rock's mental strength was extraordinary, and the evil god could not control him, just like controlling a mermaid. Rock sneered. The evil god didn't let him save the prince, but he had to save him. He looked up and saw the mermaid crying. The mermaid's heart and eyes were full of the prince. Rock fell in front of her, but she didn't react at all. You know, just an hour ago, the mermaid was singing to him. How abnormal! If he hadn't come to this world, he would never have thought that the mermaid fell in love with the prince, but it was not her wish. It was the evil god of this world who was causing trouble. Rock sat up, stroking his chin, looking around. Just for a moment, he noticed that the concentration of the vitality factor in the air seemed to have changed. Now it has returned to normal. The evil god should be staring at them now, but unfortunately Rock could only feel the change in the vitality factor, but could not see where the evil god was. Rock narrowed his eyes. Since the other party wanted to play, he would play along. Mermaid, you have been away from the sea for too long. Come back quickly, I will save him. Rock saw that the seawater on the mermaid's tail had been dried by the wind. She was trembling slightly and was about to faint. No, I want to save him. The mermaid shook her head and held the prince's hand tightly. Rock wanted to push her into the sea. If she left the sea for a long time, the mermaid would have health problems or even die. After all, mermaids are also fish, and fish cannot live without water, bcde. Rock knew that the mermaid was controlled, and the evil god would not allow her to die now. Sure enough, the door of the church not far away was opened, and a young girl walked out. To read the violent novels, go to Philonovel Network. My eyes looked over here unconsciously. Someone is coming. The mermaid let go of the prince's hand in fear and kissed his forehead gently. She turned around and swam hard towards the sea. Rock walked to the prince and squatted down. He stretched out his hand to feel his breath and found that he was still alive. Before he could wake him up, the young girl ran over like crazy. What happened to you? The young girl rushed to the prince and asked in a surprised voice, as if she had not seen Rock. Seeing that the prince was soaked, the girl guessed that he had drowned. Help, come and save them. The girl waved and shouted towards the church. People who had just come out of the church heard the girl's words and ran over. What happened to him? This dress is all silk, only the nobles wear it. Everyone was talking about it, and the girl had the prince carried to dry land and took off his outer robe. The girl patted the prince's face and said, "Wake up." This sentence seemed to have magic power. Rock saw the prince slowly open his eyes and silently look at the young girl. The girl was dressed in luxurious clothes, with golden curly hair, which was as shiny as silk in the sunday. A pair of bright eyes looked at him nervously, her face slightly red. Thank you for saving me. The prince coughed a few times, his face full of gratitude. I'm glad you're okay. The young girl smiled gently and said, I have something else to do, so I'll leave first. The girl said goodbye to the prince, and the others gradually left after seeing that the prince was okay. Rock turned his head and looked at the sea. The mermaid was hiding not far away. He couldn't believe it was such a coincidence that the prince woke up as soon as the young girl called out. The fish called out many times, but the prince didn't even respond. Do you know who saved you? Rock asked the prince, who had just sat up with a smile. The prince looked at Rock blankly and said, "It was that girl who saved me." "Who else could it be? Did you notice that the girl's clothes were dry and not wet at all?" The prince didn't notice such an obvious loophole. The prince blinked. The girl's clothes and hair were indeed not wet. Could it be that she saved him? He tried to figure out what was going on, and suddenly his head felt like a needle pierced. The prince shook his head and said with certainty, "No, it was the girl who saved me." The needle-like pain just now suddenly disappeared, and he murmured to himself again, "She saved me." Rock saw the other party's reaction. As long as the prince doubted the object of the rescue, he would feel a tingling sensation in his head, and the evil god did not allow him to continue thinking. Chapter 98. Not long after, the prince was taken away, and Rock was left alone on the beach. He looked towards the place where the mermaid was hiding not far away. "Come out, the person is gone." Rock found that no matter whether it was the mermaid or the prince, or even the young girl who saved the prince, they were all like possessed. They followed the plot of the original book regardless of everything. If he didn't stop her, the mermaid would face the same tragic fate as the original story. The mermaid surfaced from the corner, her expression was sad, and she was no longer as happy as yesterday. Rock cursed the evil god in his heart as a bastard. If the mermaid had fallen in love with the prince on her own initiative, it would be fine, but she was controlled by the evil god and fell in love with the prince. In this way, the mermaid's death was more like a carefully planned. "I'm going home, bye." The mermaid's heart and eyes were now filled with the prince. She wanted to meet him very much, but unfortunately she didn't know where he lived or what his true identity was. Before Rock could answer, the mermaid jumped into the sea and swam to the bottom of the sea. Rock hurriedly followed suit. Fortunately, he was a mutant and was not afraid of water, otherwise he would have to wait on the shore. As the mermaid swam to the bottom of the sea, she glanced at Rock. She had never seen a human who dared to go into the water like this, and she looked him up and down curiously. The mermaid had a good impression of Rock, and since he had also gone into the sea, she planned to take him to the underwater palace. So the mermaid took Rock to the underwater palace. There were fish everywhere, and even the palace was made of shells and corals. The shape was very strange, and Rock was dazzled. "Sister, you went to the shore again." Several beautiful sisters saw the little mermaid and hurried over. "Isn't he the one who fished? How come he followed us?" "No, humans can't follow us at all." The princess swam to Rock's side in surprise. It was the first time she saw such a strange human. He looked no different from an ordinary person, but he could reach the depths of the sea without any auxiliary tools. It was really strange. "Sister, he is your friend." The mermaid had no intention of driving Rock away. "Well, he'd better not hurt us, or I'll eat him." The second princess showed her sharp teeth viciously. Rock smiled awkwardly. The reason why he followed the mermaid to the bottom of the sea was mainly because he was worried that the mermaid would listen to the words of the sea witch in order to get ashore, just like in the original book. Rock suspected that the sea witch was the evil god. Of course this was just a guess. In the original book, the sea witch prepared medicine for the little mermaid. After she drank it, her fish tail would turn into legs, but she had to pay a heavy price. Rock couldn't watch the little mermaid go to death. If the sea witch was the evil god, Rock planned to kill her directly. When the evil god died, the mermaid would no longer be controlled by others and could live freely. If the sea witch was not the evil god, then she must know the news of the evil god. After all, it was the sea witch who made the little mermaid lose her fish tail and sacrifice her tongue, hair, and voice. The sea witch was originally a vicious person. "Don't worry, I won't hurt any of you." Rock hurriedly raised his hand and swore. The princesses were even more surprised to hear that Rock could speak their language, and swam around Rock. "Why are you different from other humans?" the third princess asked curiously. "This is my secret, just like you mermaids have your own secrets," which cannot be told to others. The fact that Rock is a mutant, naturally, will not be told to the mermaids. Fortunately, several princesses expressed their understanding and did not continue to ask. "Oh, sister! Have you cried? What happened?" The princess saw her sister's red eyes and looked at Rock warily. Rock wanted to cry but had no tears. The mermaid didn't cry because of him. "Sister, I fell in love with someone," the mermaid said shyly with a red face. "What?" Several princesses looked at their youngest sister in shock. Their sister went to the sea alone today, and it wasn't long at all. How could she fall in love with someone? To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. Wait, the sister is talking about humans? Could it be him? Several princesses looked at Rock, their eyes as sharp as knives. Fortunately, the mermaid's eyes can't kill people, otherwise he might die in this underwater palace. The mermaid shook her head hurriedly, protected Rock, and told her sisters about what she had seen before. "Sister, I've fallen in love with him. I want to be with him. Otherwise, I'll be very sad. Ask for her flowers." The mermaid touched her chest and looked at her sisters seriously. Rock sighed. He had only seen the prince for less than 5 minutes, and she had already fallen in love with him? Even if it was love at first sight, she wouldn't feel sad so quickly. It was the evil god who controlled the mermaid's thoughts and actions. The sisters looked at each other and gathered together, chattering. "I know who he is, he's a prince. I know where he lives." "Sister, have you really fallen in love with him? We are mermaids and he is a human, we cannot fall in love with each other." The fifth princess had just finished speaking. The other sisters calmed down. They did not think too much about it. Mermaids live in the ocean and the prince lives in the palace. They cannot go ashore at all. How can they meet? How can they fall in love? The princesses looked at each other, not knowing what to do. "Sister, I just heard you say, do you know where he lives? Take me there, okay?" The little mermaid looked at her sister excitedly. The princess hesitated. "We can't go ashore, you know," the second sister reminded the mermaid. The mermaid was still very excited to see the prince again, but when she heard her sister's words, her tears turned into pearls and fell down. In fact, it is not necessarily impossible to go ashore. The fourth princess frowned, thinking. Rock knew that he would see the sea witch soon, and the fourth princess must have thought of her. The sea witch knows a lot of spells and magic, she must have a way, but the sea witch is not a good person. The fourth princess looked at the little mermaid worriedly. Everyone in the sea is in awe of the sea witch. Many fish are even afraid of her because she has many strange methods. The little mermaid's eyes lit up. Yes, why didn't she think of the sea witch? With her help, she can definitely go ashore to see the prince. Thinking of this, the little mermaid swam to the sea witch's residence. Rock followed closely behind without saying a word. The vitality factor in the seabed is even more concentrated than that on the shore. The further you go, the higher the concentration. Does this vitality factor point to the evil god? Several mermaid princesses hurried to chase the little mermaid. The sea witch they want to see is not an ordinary fish spoon. Chapter 99. Rock followed the little mermaid to a strange residence, where a strong vitality factor was trapped. If I guessed correctly, this should be the residence of the sea witch. Princesses and the guest from afar, please come in. An old voice came from behind the door. Rock looked at the door that he slowly opened, holding his breath, curious about what the legendary sea witch looked like. When the other party didn't come out, he knew that Rock, the person who came from afar, had arrived. It can be seen that the sea witch's mental strength should be good. The little mermaid walked in first, followed by Rock. Unlike the grandeur and magnificence of the underwater palace, the sea witch's house looked messy, with some herbs and fish bones hanging on the wall. There were strange shells on the table, all with special words. 3, 8, 7 Princess, what do you want to see me for? A tall woman suddenly appeared in the room, bringing a gust of wind. The woman looked very young, only about 20 years old, and Rock was shocked. He thought the sea witch was an old woman, but she was actually a young girl with a pretty face, like a little white flower. The word vicious has nothing to do with her, which was really unexpected. Rock had extraordinary mental power, and tried to see the other party's background clearly, but unfortunately he couldn't see anything. Either the other party's mental power was above his and he couldn't see it, or the other party was indeed a simple wizard. The sea witch narrowed her eyes and glared at Rock. She clearly felt that the other party was looking at her with his mental power. Are you a wizard too? The sea witch asked Rock in confusion. The mermaid and her sisters turned to look at Rock in surprise. So you are a wizard, no wonder you can come to the bottom of the sea and understand our language. The princess suddenly realized. The little mermaid circled around Rock. The aura on him was not like that of a sea witch. Is he really a wizard? I am not a wizard, you are mistaken. I am just a wandering bard who has been stranded here. Rock smiled and hurriedly explained that he was just different in mental power, and was far from being a wizard. The sea witch looked at Rock deeply, and did not continue to ask questions, but turned to look at the mermaids. What do you want from me? I'm busy making medicine, so go ahead. The sea witch picked up the herbs on the table and started to process them. The mermaid walked over timidly and asked seriously, I want to go ashore, can you help me? The sea witch paused and looked at the little mermaid coldly. Go ashore? You are a fish, how can a fish live on land? God will not allow it. Rock raised his eyebrows when he heard the sea witch mention God. God? Is there a god here? The sea witch pretended to be curious and asked, wondering if it was the evil god he guessed. Of course there are gods. Everything in this world is created by gods, including you and me. There is also the sea, including the fish in the sea. The sea witch said as a matter of course. What surprised her was that Rock didn't know that there was a god. What will happen if you do something that God doesn't allow? Rock thought of the tongue and hair of the mermaid in the original book. He had heard the mermaids singing, and that was the voice of divinity. You will be punished and will never be able to recover. The sea witch's eyes were stern and her voice was cold. She glanced at the people opposite with a knife-like gaze. The mermaid princesses subconsciously shrank their necks, and a chill ran through their hearts. I am willing to accept the punishment as long as I can get ashore. The little mermaid was a little scared at first, and her tail swung very fast. When she thought of the prince, she suddenly became brave. Are you sure you want to do this? I do have a drug that can turn your fish tail into human legs. But you have to drink it before dawn. The sea witch took out a bottle made of conch from the box, which contained a special potion. The little mermaid saw the bottle and reached out to take it, but the sea witch dodged and the mermaid missed. I haven't finished yet. If you drink this medicine, you will be in great pain. To transform from a mermaid into a human, you have to experience the pain of a sharp knife splitting your body. And every time I take a step, my feet hurt like a knife cutting them. Most importantly, once you become an adult, you can no longer turn into a fish. You can never return to the sea again. As soon as the sea witch finished speaking, several princesses shook their heads in fear. To read the exciting novel, go to Novel Network. No, sister. You can't drink it. Once you drink it, you will have no home. The eldest princess hurriedly dissuaded her. She originally thought that it was just a temporary change of the fish tail into legs. Little did she know that she would never be able to change back. She couldn't bear to watch her sister go down this path. Eldest sister is right, forget the prince, and continue to live in the sea with us. The second princess held the little mermaid's hand worriedly. She didn't want her youngest sister to never be able to return to the sea. The mermaid was shocked when she heard the words of the sea witch. She could bear the pain. But the little mermaid couldn't bear to be separated from her family. The sea witch stared at the little mermaid with a pair of cold eyes for a while, sneered, and shook the medicine in the bottle. "Are you scared? It seems that you don't really want to become a human." The little mermaid shook her head. She admitted that she was a little scared, but as long as she thought of the prince, her fear disappeared instantly. "I'm not afraid, I want to drink this medicine." The mermaid looked firmly at the medicine bottle in the sea witch's hand. Rock clearly saw that the mermaid was really scared for a moment and hesitated. But after a moment, the mermaid's eyes became firm and decisive again. Rock guessed that it was the power of the evil god that was at work. "Wait, don't make a decision so early. I think the wizard has something else to say. If the mermaid drinks the potion, she can turn into a human. I think many mermaids would try it over the years. It's a pity that you haven't heard of it before, and there are very few mermaids who want to do this. This is very strange, isn't it?" Rock stood in front of the mermaid and looked at the sea witch with interest. "You didn't tell us what the little mermaid would pay for it. You're not giving the medicine away for free, are you?" Rock sneered. The sea witch would not do a losing deal. She must have made a lot of money from this deal. The mermaid and the princesses looked at each other. They had never heard of a medicine that could turn a mermaid into a human. They had never heard of anyone drinking this medicine. "What reward does my sister need?" the eldest princess asked anxiously. She regretted telling her sister that they knew where the prince lived. If she didn't tell her, her sister wouldn't think of meeting him. "Tell them." Rock stared at the sea witch with sharp eyes and said word by word. Chapter 100. The sea witch gritted her teeth and glared at Rock angrily. If she wanted to trade with her, she would have to pay him, but she hadn't completely convinced the mermaid yet. Mentioning the reward at this time might scare the mermaid. What if she changed her mind and didn't want to drink the potion and transform into a human? Then how could she complete her mission? The master would punish her. When she thought of the master's supreme power and thunderous anger, her body trembled. No, she had to make this deal with the mermaid no matter what. The mermaid and several other princesses stared at the sea witch with their big eyes blinking. The sea witch had no choice but to tell the truth. "After you drink the potion, if the prince falls in love with you and forgets his parents and is willing to marry you, you will get an immortal soul. If the prince marries another woman, on the day before the wedding you will turn into sea foam and die forever. The price of this bottle of medicine is your tongue. You can no longer speak or sing." After the sea witch said this, the princesses were shocked. This price was too high. No one knew whether the prince would fall in love with the little mermaid. When the little mermaid heard the sea witch's words, her face turned pale and bloodless. Her heart was pounding. It turned out that the price of happiness could be death. I do." The little mermaid's face changed from fear to determination. There was only one voice in her mind: "Go see the prince, he will fall in love with me." When the sea witch heard this, a few subtle smiles flashed across her face. She knew it would be like this. "As you wish," the sea witch said, and was about to hand the bottle to the little mermaid. Rock stood aside, folding his arms, watching the reactions of the two. Suddenly, several mermaid princesses looked at each other, and 5 of them joined forces, pulling the little mermaid out. "What are you doing? Let me go, let me go." The mermaid struggled to stay, she had decided to drink the medicine. "Don't do anything stupid. We can't let you drink the medicine." 5 people dragged and pulled the little mermaid, but she couldn't break free and was taken away. Rock stood there, motionless and silently looking at the sea witch. "You seem disappointed? The mermaid is the king's daughter, don't you want her to live well?" The original book did not reveal what the king's reaction was after he knew that the little princess drank the medicine and turned into a human. The sea witch lives in the ocean and is in the same kingdom as the mermaid. If she cuts off the little princess' tongue, isn't she afraid that the king will be angry with her? Especially the little princess is obviously the most beautiful, kind, and pure among all the princesses. A normal father would love her very much, not to mention a king. The sea witch is very courageous. Who gave her the courage to hurt the little princess? I didn't force her. Everything has a price. The sea witch was stubborn. She was indeed disappointed. But she was sure that the little princess would come back. She would give up her tongue and drink the potion. This was the little princess's fate. Rock stared at the sea witch and detected a hint of fear in her. Are you afraid? Who are you afraid of? Rock asked curiously. Judging from the reactions of the mermaid and the other princesses, the sea witch is a terrifying existence in the sea, and not many fish dare to mess with her. Under normal circumstances, she doesn't need to be afraid at all. Nonsense, why would I be afraid? Stranger, the little princess and the others have already left, please leave. The sea witch couldn't see Rock's background clearly, and didn't know why he came. A stranger appeared at this time, and the sea witch didn't want to cause trouble, just wanted to complete her task. Rock sneered, didn't say much, and walked away directly. The sea witch looked at Rock's gradually receding back and breathed a long sigh of relief. She closed the door, quietly came to the inner room alone, and opened the fish bones hanging on the wall. There was a loud bang. The wall split in the middle, and a secret door suddenly appeared. The sea witch was about to walk into the secret door, and suddenly heard a bang, and she hurried out to check the situation. The door broke into several pieces and fell to the ground, and a warrior in black armor stood at the door. The sea witch looked at him in surprise. The other party gave her a deep sense of oppression, and murderous aura was revealed. She had never seen such a person in the underwater kingdom. Is he a human warrior? How could he appear here? To read violent novels, go to Novel Network. Who are you? The sea witch asked nervously, her heart almost in her throat. The door of her residence was made of the strongest fish bones on the seabed, and even she herself could not break it with one punch. The king's bravest soldiers could not do it either. In any case, the opponent's strength should not be underestimated. The black warrior did not say a word and directly blasted her door. This person came with bad intentions. It doesn't matter who I am, what matters most is who you are working for. Rock pushed the sea witch away and walked straight into the room. Seeing the secret room open, he sneered a few times. He was just hiding outside and didn't leave directly. He was waiting for this moment. The person the sea witch was afraid of might be the evil god who controlled the world and made the mermaids obsessed. Rock's mental strength was strong, and even stronger than the sea witch. He had noticed it when the other party opened the secret room just now. It was called a secret room, but it was actually an altar. There were strange runes all around the walls, and Rock couldn't understand what they meant. But the runes were drawn in blood, and the air was filled with the smell of blood. Needless to say, this altar was for sacrifice to the evil god. Who would use blood to draw those 647 strange symbols for the positive gods? You can just worship openly, why hide in the secret room and sneak around? What are you doing? The sea witch followed closely and panicked when she saw Rock enter the secret room. Only she could enter this secret room. Rock was the first outsider to enter in all these years. Where is he? Rock asked coldly. The black cloak and metal armor wrapped Rock tightly, and his whole body was filled with murderous aura and coldness. The sea witch took 2 steps back in fear and asked in a trembling voice, who? Evil god. Don't a Euro trademark T, you know who you are worshipping. Rock sneered and punched the center of the altar. The altar shattered into several pieces. You dare to disrespect God? You will be punished. The sea witch screamed as she looked at the broken altar. That was God, and no matter whether it was human or fish, all they could do was kneel down and worship him. The other party actually dared to destroy the altar, which was a challenge to God's authority, and God's punishment would come soon. The sea witch knelt on the ground, shaking her body, muttering to herself. Gods above, it wasn't me who destroyed the altar, it was him. Punish him if you want to. The sea witch pointed at the black warrior and said. Rock smiled and said loudly, punish him if you want to, and hurry up. Evil God. End of the video. Like, subscribe.